Hey there, and welcome to episode number 88 of Killer POV. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob G, from Icons of Fright.
And Fango.
FearNet Rip. Elric Kane, who brought beer tonight.
Beer and Tylenol.
It doesn't matter that you're from Jump Cut or Inside Horror. What matters is this is the second episode you brought beer.
And I didn't even ask him to tonight.
I know.
He brought me a lemon bar. How nice is that?
Why are you being nice?
I had a headache when I'm weak. I do nice things.
When you're weak, you're weak.
It's rare that I'm weak.
Emotionally.
Yeah. But right now I'm weak and raw.
Wow. Elric knows I love these lemon bar things that they have at Jump Cut. It's like shortbread with a lemon frosting. And he brought me one tonight, and I'm totally excited.
Wow. Yeah. And last but not least,
I found one in the garbage.
It only had like a couple of footprints in it. Dusted off. Becca will eat it.
Yeah, she'll do it.
Last but not least, that's Rebekah McKendry from Fangoria.
Hello.
Hi. All righty. So, well...
I missed catching up with you guys last week.
I know. And, look, I heard a lot from fans out there. We appreciate your passion.
Oh, I didn't see any of this. I must have missed this.
And that you love when we do the opening. But... to clarify, we actually almost didn't do an episode at all last week.
Yeah.
And we had a very short window with Jeff Lieberman in town and decided, let's just do it. And in fact, we were just going to hold that interview for this episode and decided, screw it. Let's just put the interview out and then we'll do a proper catch up the following week. So that is the reason last week was just an interview. And obviously we try to do a full show every week and we'll get back in the habit of that. And
you can't complain about that interview, though.
He's great.
That was great.
Jeff Lieberman.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. He may have got in trouble.
Yeah.
So I heard through the grapevine, but through his wife. But you didn't hear that from me. So
and with the government and Martin Luther King and a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people are involved now.
The 5 towns.
Mass conspiracy.
But no, so this week is just us because we had a fairly lengthy break. And I don't know about you guys, but I saw a lot of films over the break and I wanted to talk about a lot of stuff. So we're going to catch up on that. We're going to talk about what's coming up in 2015.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about some of the stuff coming up in 2015. And I got to say, I was struggling to find 10 things I really liked for 2014.
Horror-wise, you mean.
Horror-wise, yeah. The things that I ended up putting on my list, I stand by. I think they're phenomenal. But, I mean, it was not a year where I was like, oh, there were so many wonderful choices. I can't even decide. And
that's so weird. I mean, no, it's not weird, but it's weird because for me, it was the opposite. That year was it was bountiful to me, but not on the studio level. Not on the big,
not at all.
In the big film, there was almost nothing. I mean,
and that's the thing. The second half of the year is when a lot of those indie films really kind of came out of nowhere.
After the festival circuits.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't hold me to this, listeners and co-hosts, but I thought I saw somewhere online that Shout Factory, Scream Factory is putting out the Babadook.
Oh,
what?
Which would be awesome.
Okay.
I think
I'm googling it.
Interesting.
I googled it and it's listed on some. They haven't announced it yet, but it's listed on like some of the Blu-ray websites that have pre-orders and stuff like that. They're listed as the company.
Is
which
it
would
out
be great.
already in Australia?
I think so.
Often things like that are already out.
Yeah.
That's a good get for them.
It's a great get. I mean,
so let's hope, but don't hold me to that. That's the rumor.
Especially, it'd be interesting to know what kind of making ofs and stuff like that they might have.
Yeah.
And the cover art, they could do something really interesting with the book art.
Oh, for sure.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, I just Googled it and 5 different sites reporting on it came up, and it's already listed on Blu-ray.com with them.
Supposedly. That's the rumor. So yeah, we'll look forward to that. So how do we want to do this? Did you guys have a lot on your list? Because I do. I
actually kept it down to 4 titles just because I figured I'd only highlight the major stuff.
Yeah, and I have 3 or 4. I mean, I did the opposite of you, actually. It was the first real break from watching. It wasn't just horror, but movies when I went away because I was traveling most of the time.
Yeah, you had family in town.
For me, it was really good. My brain, and you probably didn't watch as much, I imagine, when you went to New York. You were doing other things. It was really
barely anything.
Yeah, it was like a great palate cleanse. Since getting back, I've watched a couple things to talk about, but it was actually really good, especially after this year where we watched a lot in this last year.
Yeah.
And some of it's because you want to, and some of it's for the show because you just want to watch and talk about more stuff. So now it's nice to just kind of be watching stuff because you want to watch it.
Right. But then let's do one and one. We'll go around the table. That way we can keep it going. All right. So the first one I wanted to talk about is a film that Elric has talked about previously called Found. And it was recommended by our friend and listener, Dick Gernert. I finally got around to watching it. In fact, I think it's Dick's copy, and if it is, I'll get it back to you soon. But yeah, it's a really low-budget movie by a director named Scott Schirmer, based on a novel by Todd Rigney. And, this is one of those cases. Yeah, I talked to Dick about it right after I watched it. It's one of those cases, much like The Battery, where your budgetary limitations, a really good story and execution always trumps budgetary registrations. So I really love this film a lot. It's a coming of age movie about a young kid named Marty who, right from the top, discovers that his older brother is a serial killer. And
it's cool that it's not a red herring story. Like, oh, no, he's not. It's a big story. You know what I mean? Nope, it's actually just a dark, twisted little story.
And I love it. It's from his perspective. He's 12 years old, and he's a huge horror fanatic. He loves this stuff, and he watches it. And that's the thing. It's he goes into his brother's room in the opening scene because he's obsessed with checking his bowling ball bag because one time he checked it to borrow it, and he found a head in there.
What?
Yeah. I mean, and this is the opening lines of the movie, is him describing this and doing it.
Is this presented comedically, or is
not
it
at all.
dead serious?
Straight. And it's really good. It's really, really good. So it's kind of interesting because, we're all that 12-year-old. We grew up watching all these films and renting them. And then it's what if somebody really close to you was involved in this? I thought there was a great scene where he was watching a horror movie with his friend.
One of the best scenes in the movie.
And he kept... and it's it was bordering on almost like a snuff film type of movie, one of those obscure 80s lost movies or whatever on VHS.
Shot on video kind of thing.
Yeah, and he kept imagining and seeing his brother in the role of the killer in the movie. And I just thought it was interesting because he's is that what it's like for him? When
it's also a way of, instead of showing a flashback or instead of showing a scene where the brother's actually killing someone, it's your way of seeing that.
Yes.
But it's through
it's all through the boy's head, yeah. So I really liked it. I mean, again, don't... it's very low budget. The lead, the kid and his brother are great. Yeah. There's a few secondary actors, some of the other kids at the school and stuff like that aren't
parents. I always think it's the adult actors in movies like that usually, like the family, because often they're probably community theater people,
exactly,
from a small town, and so it's forgivable.
Yeah, you could tell, but again, because the two leads are so strong and the story's so strong, it's forgivable. And I kept thinking, I had two thoughts. The first was, man, I hope they should remake this, because it'd be a great movie. And then I was like, you know what? Screw that. Fuck a remake. This is a great little piece of cinema on its own. I hope this guy gets to do something bigger and better next time. Mm-hmm. Same as Jeremy Gardner with The Battery. It's you see that and you're like, no, that movie's fine as it is. I want to see this person do bigger and better. So I really loved it.
Where's he from? I was trying to remember. Somewhere small, right? Like Indiana?
Maybe. I didn't look that far into it. But it is available. It's on Amazon. And it's got a white cover with a guy wearing a gas mask on the front cover of it. But I strongly recommend that one. Check out Found.
Yeah. It really is a good little film. I can't remember. No, I must have forgotten it off my top 10. It definitely deserved to be.
You mentioned it,
in
though.
that.
Yeah,
in that
mentioned
world.
it before.
Yeah. Elric, what did you see?
The first one I saw when I first got back, because my mum came back from New Zealand with a DVD of What We Do in the Shadows.
Nice.
Which is just funny that in its home country it's already out, legitimately, and here it's still, I think, mid-February.
I have the date right here. It's, wait, no, I didn't. Oh, it says... Yeah, mid-February. Sorry.
And it's, this is a film I know a lot of people are looking forward to, and it's Fly the Conchords creators. One of the directors is the director, Jermaine, who's really funny. It's a really cute film. It's really funny. It's more sketchy, I guess. It's still got a context. It's literally a documentary crew is making a little documentary with these friendly, in quote marks, vampires who have a very awkward flatting relationship, and one of them's kind of based on Vlad, a version of that, and it's just really offbeat. And I saw the short that it was based on. I remember it coming out when I was in New Zealand, and it's so rough. The short is all the things that are polished in the feature are just you're watching the short. They're funny, but not really ha funny. And in the feature, they found a way to translate that into something really legitimately laugh out loud funny the whole way. It's very short. It's 80 something minutes. I think it'll be a real crowd pleaser, especially for people who know all the tropes of horror. It's just, and I also think the director, Taika Waititi, I think Taika Cohen, he does a really good job in the lead as well. He's the lead vampire, and he's really funny. I think it's a very cute. It's a cutesy. He's kind of a Dante vampire, and one of those ones from that period in history. And it's just quite funny as he's trying to get everyone to get along in the flat, even though they have to occasionally, eat people and stuff. I think people will really have a lot of fun with that. It's a great one to lead off your year with if you get a chance to see it soon. Yeah,
cool.
Good fun.
I can't wait for that one.
Just move to New Zealand and see it on DVD.
It's
much easier.
Or just wait a month.
Wait a month. Yeah.
Borrow Elric's. So
right, Bekah?
I saw The Canal.
Oh, cool.
Which I had seen before because Ryan Turek had sent me a viewing link a while ago when it was first acquired by the Shock to You Drop brand. And then Elric had raved about it being his,
I maintain that rave.
one of the top films of the year. And I
Love
was
it.
like, I need to rewatch this because I remembered that something kind of irked me about it before. And I couldn't remember what it was. I just remembered that there was something that put me off. I was like, it had good scares, but there was a reason that I wasn't too into it. So I rewatched it and I remembered what it was as soon as it started. It's a very misogynistic film. It is.
Well, that makes sense because Elric's a misogynist.
I know. But, and I mean...
Bekah, in your place. Wait, who gave her a microphone? hey!
I'll get back in my corner, kids.
Whoa.
No, but it is. It's...
Or is the character misogynist?
And see,
is the movie misogynist?
The movie seems to be. But see, I don't know if it was deliberately set up like that or not. But the thing is, it's got a mom and dad who are both having these kind of affairs. The dad's affair is like with this cute, quirky little coworker who he's known for 10
But he's
years.
not having
and
an affair with her.
kind of,
I've never had an affair.
Kiss at the end. It's heavily
I can't. This is very hard to talk about
implied.
without.
You guys did this on the,
I know,
the end of year wrap-up. This exact
We have to be careful.
conversation.
I don't want to go into spoil. But let me just guarantee you they were not having an affair. There was definitely attraction on her part. They were not having an affair. His wife was definitely having an affair.
But yet she is having this affair on this dirty mattress with this swarthy guy with a ponytail.
That's how it happens.
But I don't understand what's the movie about. I know nothing about this other than this thing.
A guy's kid is missing. Or sorry, no, it's not a kid. It's his wife.
It's
and
Sinister-ish, haunted house where there's been various murders. But the cool part of the film, I don't know whether you like these parts, but is that he is an archivist for the British Film Archive. So he gets to look at these old archival pieces of film that are often documentaries, or that's just what happens at archives. You get all sorts of weird stuff. And he sees two murders that had taken place in the house he lived in next to a canal, and this old guy who had been there who might have been the murderer. And through that, the one thing I will say about misogyny, because you might be right about the film in general. I can't see it through that veil, but it is about a misogynist character, and I'm not talking about the lead character. I'm talking about the guy who's kind of possessing you is completely, he's trying to kill his wife and his kids, and then he tries to take you over and kill your wife. So it has a lot of similar things to Sinister. That's why the second after I saw it, I said to Turk, I know who's directing Sinister 3. And I bet I'm right. I'd put any money on it.
I guess it just grates me because there are only two female characters in the entire film. Two. Except for a detective who kind of floats in and out, and even she's like a lesser character. But two female characters in the film. One is having this like sleazy affair with this guy in broad sunlight on a dirty mattress, and then the second one is trying to convince the loving husband who just wants to take care of his kids to get with her. And it just rubbed me wrong. So I need somebody else. I need another.
Just sounds
female.
like life, baby. It's life. look, be cool, baby.
BJ Kalanja, watch this so that we can talk.
I hope that she watches and says, "This is a great movie."
This is a great movie. No, and I will say it's got amazing jump scares. It's got some of the best scares.
It's got some cool Fulci looking. It's just like it's got a good palette, and I am often maybe overly forgiving, and I'd say the same with It Follows and movies like that. I'm kind of pretty forgiving if something has really good atmosphere. Like I do kind of lessen my interest in the character stuff, because I can remember, there were some character things where I'm like, that were generic. I would definitely say that affair, the way it looked, is generic. Like a beautiful looking guy, art gallery kind of thing. That generic,
guy was like the most fuckable guy in the world. Yeah. I mean, like there was no question she was having sex with him. Of course she was.
And she was Swiss, so what did you expect? Come on. Can't trust her.
So I saw The Canal.
All right. I got to check it out because you're both like kind of on the opposite.
Guess what happens at the end, Rob?
No.
You already found out.
I will
I'm just
say,
kidding.
it's a great movie. I was annoyed by the presentation of the female gender in the film.
I think it's worth bringing up, that kind of stuff, especially if you see something in a movie that I don't see or somebody did. It's interesting. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not there.
Okay.
I just don't look for it, obviously.
All right. My next one is Monkey Shines. Yeah.
Monkey Shines.
Yeah, no, I picked up, I'd gotten the Scream Factory releases of The Dark Half and Monkey Shines, which is interesting. That's like an interesting like period in George Romero's career, doing those two movies back to back. I think it's the only time that he didn't do anything that wasn't his originally, that was like based on pre-existing material.
Oh, what's Monkey Shine's based on?
Based on a book. It's based on a novel.
Stephen King, isn't it?
No. Stephen King did.
I know that.
People get this confused, but no, because I think the cover of Stephen King's Skeleton Key has a monkey on it.
It's the monkey with the symbols.
Yes, which always confused me into thinking it was a Stephen King property, but it's not. It's right. It's a book and that they got the rights to. And you know what? I only saw it once as a kid, and I remember having mixed feelings about it, but I actually loved it this time. Like, loved it. And, you know, the basic premise is this very, like, fit athletic guy in the opening of the movie gets in an accident and becomes, wheelchair bound. And, he's being set up and, with a nurse at his house and trying to, kind of adjust to life like that. And his best friend is a scientist that is kind of experimenting on monkeys by giving them like, human brain tissue to see if he can make them smarter. And there's actually a woman that trains monkeys to be a guide for people that are in wheelchairs, like, do stuff for them and all that. So they set him up with a monkey, unbeknownst that that's one of the experimented ones. And he gets this insane kind of jealous connection with his host, with the lead character. First of all, I watch it with my roommate because he's like, I just love movies with monkeys. It's fun. And he's totally right. Like, we were laughing at like, because no matter how deadly a monkey is, it's still a monkey and it's kind of cute.
Right. That's how I felt about the opening of Mother of Tears, where everybody was like, oh, the monkey was so sinister. And I was like, it's a monkey.
You're just like, no matter what he does, you're like, oh, look at that guy.
Can't you just like drop,
any which way but loose, baby.
And the problem's taken care of?
Above all.
Look at him pick up that switchblade. Aw.
That's funny. I remember being pretty intense.
It is very intense, and it's also long. It's like a 2-hour movie, but now as an adult, I was really, and seeing it in Blu-ray, like, it looked spectacular. I was really impressed with the filmmaking craft to pull this off. And that's the thing, is like, I don't think Romero gets enough credit as a director. Right. And this movie is a real showcase to him as a director, because you've got a lot of interesting, like, they do this weird like POV thing with the monkey at times. And I mean, you're dealing with a damn monkey, and I strongly recommend watching the making of documentary on it.
Oh, fun.
Because they tell so many fun stories about things that like monkeys do. Like, there's a scene where, they train it to put grapes in the lead guy's mouth. He keeps it open wide, and they're saying at one point, like, he waited and he opened it wide and he just grabbed a piece of his shit and threw it down the guy's throat.
Oh my God.
Because that's the sort of thing monkeys do.
Yeah. Wow.
But you hear Romero talk about it. He's like, the monkeys were great when they wanted to work, but when they weren't, they didn't want to do shit.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty amazing just from a filmmaking standpoint. I just appreciated it. And then you get to talk to all the effects guys, Tom Savini, some of the K&B guys are on it. And it's really a brilliant magic trick. I wasn't able to tell where they were using animatronics, or at one point I think they actually have giant monkey hands, to do that stuff. But I had a lot of fun with it. Also, a young Stanley Tucci is in it as well.
Yeah, what is his character?
He's the doctor that works on the lead character, and he ends up stealing his girlfriend. So he's kind of a scumbag.
Oh, big shock.
Yeah. So
he's perfectly
it's great. No,
Romero's funny because he was going to, as a director, I agree with you. And I remember the moment I was most disappointed with him. I'd like to revisit this movie, but I never have, because I thought the premise was great, was the film Bruiser. And I remember when that came out, I was just like, oh, and it really, to me, it felt like it was poorly directed. It was the first one of his films where I ever thought that. I don't know many stories about that.
I've only seen it once around the time it came out. I know he had a lot of trouble on it. I think it might have been casting, because I remember feeling it was miscast when I initially saw it.
I did too.
I don't know how I'd feel about it now, but you're right.
That guy's a great actor, but he's like a side actor. He's like in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Dr. Jekyll and stuff.
Had because I don't know if these two films were successful, Monkey Shines and Dark Half, but I feel like if they were big hits, his career would have been on a completely different trajectory. Because they're both interesting films.
And to this day, I still wonder about the one question I never got to really ask Carpenter, and I'm sure people have, but did you think about a total change in direction after Starman?
Yeah.
Because Starman's totally a legit film that could have been like Oscar nomination for Jeff Bridges, and it feels like at that point you could go in any direction you want. Unlike Wes Craven, who've never really had a non-horror hit. They tried, but Carpenter, that's that one movie where Carpenter, and I think he used all his cachet from that to make, I assume, Big Trouble, right?
Man, I don't know. I have to look at the timetable.
But I assume he did.
Or The Thing, or one of those.
Yeah, I can't remember. But he really obviously could have gone into a different route. Right.
Which
is interesting.
So yeah, Monkey Shines. Elric, your next one.
Cool. I saw. Oh, this is fun. I recorded this off TCM before I left and didn't get around to watching it till a couple days ago. And I really like this movie. I hadn't seen it. I'm a big William Girdler fan. All the films I have seen with William Girdler all have been entertaining and insane. And probably all of you have seen this movie. I'd never seen the Manitou. But once you see the Manitou, you never forget the Manitou. I think it's one of the most damn fun movies. And here's my number one note about this. I could be locked in a room and die and live 1,000 times, and I still could never come up with the concept for this movie. I could live 1,000 lifetimes of trying to come up with movie ideas, and I would never be in a room and go, oh man, you should just like have a girl and like a tumor grows on her shoulder and inside is a 400-year-old shaman. That's coming back to wreak havoc on the white man, being Tony Curtis. Yes. Let's get Tony Curtis in a different cool shirt in every scene. And I loved it. I mean, it's horror, light horror. It's definitely in that world of The Visitor for sure. It's, because it's just crazy. But it's also like really, when it's good, like when it gets a couple good scenes back to back, it's really good. And you're really captivated. And then it just goes absolute batshit at the end.
Yeah, it has a really crazy ending.
I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, once the thing comes, but it's just really, because the first 30 minutes is kind of like it's alive almost. Like we don't really know what's wrong. And she has this thing and all these experts going, I don't think we can operate. And you're like, oh, this is interesting. And once the American Indian, Native Indian guy comes in and he's just like, oh no, that's the 400-year-old shaman. You're like, oh, the 400-year-old shaman. Boom. And it's really good. William Girdler, I heard a rumor from someone who I know that somebody was working on a movie about him because he made, 6 to 8 films. I can't remember, Abby, Grizzly. Oh, yeah. And then he died in a helicopter crash while scouting a film. And he obviously had, like a driven personality. But also he was like, when we talk about regional horror on here, he obviously was Mr. Regional Horror. Every one of these films, the number one thing that you take away is the place. Maybe not Abby, but a little bit. But like, this one's a San Francisco movie, and I'd just been there for the holidays, so you're recognizing all the spaces, and I bet any money that Tony Curtis probably lived there. And it's like, you can come to me. But no, this is, I really encourage you people. I don't know what it's on anymore, Blu-ray, but I know it comes on TCM and stuff quite a bit. And I had a real blast watching that movie. Wow. And it looked like it had a real budget. It didn't feel cheap like a lot of his other films felt indie. Abby feels cheap, Grizzly feels cheap. This doesn't feel cheap. Good movie.
Wow. Yeah. That's really cool. I haven't seen the Manitou since I was a little kid. Crazy. And at the time, I had no idea what was going on, didn't understand it. I just remember the batshit crazy ending.
I mistook it for one with Orson Welles, which is also a horror film called The Malpurtis. It happens. I have to rewatch that. It's like an ocean adventure horror film, and I've never.
What?
Yeah, it's got Orson, and it's got a monster, and it's by. I think it's by this. I actually believe it's by the same director as Daughters of Darkness, the French vampire film. Yeah, and it looks really good. Harry Kumel is the guy's name, but I saw that one like a long time ago, and remember thinking that's a weird movie, and thinking it was the Manitou whenever I'd see the word Malpurtis Manitou, and now I'm like, oh no, they're both weird movies.
Yeah, I got to revisit that one too, actually.
The M&Ms.
Nice. So I saw a film that I know Rob had mentioned, or actually I think it was like one of your favorite films that no one ever heard of. I saw Little Erin Merryweather.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
say that again. What's the name?
Little Erin Merryweather. Okay. And it's on Netflix, so I was able to get it that way.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's Netflix not instant streaming.
Oh, I
got the DVD.
Yeah.
And it's definitely it's a regional film, I'll say that. And it's very rough around the edges, but there's something so charming about it. And usually if films like that, because it's kind of a standard slasher, well, not really a slasher, it's more like a serial killer where there's a serial killer.
Stylistically, it borrows Halloween.
Yes.
Through and through.
Exactly.
Including not really seeing anything in the kills.
TV movie or a real movie?
No, it was a real movie. It was one of the ones that I remember. I met the filmmakers back in New York when we were starting Icons of Fright, and kind of hot on the tails of us discovering Malevolence with Stephen Mena, we were like, oh, what else is out there? And these guys came to us, and there's just something about the film. It's not great. It's not like the best, I can't say it, but there's something about it.
It's kind of done. I mean, like, the plot when you go into it. I mean, it's a group of student journalists who are trying to capture a serial killer with the help of their psychology professor. And the cops are involved in things like that. And it's it's rough around the edges. Like, there's definitely some boom mic problems where the audio kind of gets fuzzy at points, and some actors are better than others, I will say. But it's almost a giallo style. Like, it looks like it's lending a lot, or
did either of you ever see that movie? I never saw this one, but I remember the cover, which reminds me, a low budget, but it looked like giallo, like 2 years ago, called The Sleeper. and had a guy in the front with gloves. Look at the cover art's like, oh, that looks amazing. But then everything I heard was like, it's okay. I'm just curious. Okay.
But this one, like usually if I start watching a film and I'm like, oh, the plot is so trite. I've seen this before. Oh, and now your audio is not so great. Usually I would turn it off within a half an hour. And something kept me going through the entire thing because there is just a really charming film. It's filmed on a college campus. It's really beautiful. And yeah, the DP
I do like college campus set horror films.
Yeah, I remember because the opening had like this really beautiful illustration work from the book. There's like a book within the movie that's kind of a weird mix of the Little Red Riding Hood thing, and the killer is a female killer that adopts this Little Red Riding Hood persona. So
sounds like curtains.
There's just something neat about it. I don't know. The
surprisingly,
score,
it's better than curtains.
Really?
I would say.
way better than curtains.
Wait a minute. Which curtains? Because there's 4 movies in curtains. One of them's really good. I love the one with the ice skating scene.
Too bad we didn't see any of those.
The ice skating one was good.
I have this. I could lend you this film. I'd be curious to see what you think of it too, and when you return my other movies.
Yeah, what have I got?
I don't know. Murder Party, I think. Yeah.
I think that's it, but I got a couple of hers.
Yeah. He always has a couple of mine. I'm alphabetizing next week, so you're going to have to give me back before then.
Yeah. Okay, my next one was, and Becca will be happy about this, Witchin' and Bitchin'. Finally got to watch it. There was just one night I was going through Netflix Instant, and I really loved The Last Circus, the last film that this director Alex de la Iglesia made. And I saw the trailer to Witchin' and Bitchin', and it looked crazy, so I was like, all right, I'll check this out. And sure enough, here's the thing. It's a Spanish film, just for starters. Within the first 5 minutes, you will know if you're in or out. Okay? Like, there's no denying.
That's how all of his films are.
The manic tone and insanity that unfolds within the first 5 minutes, which is like a bunch of like street performers, one dressed as Jesus, a SpongeBob square. Like,
there's an army guy, I think.
An army guy, like them all plotting. We're about to execute a robbery within the first minute. You're just like, this movie is nuts. And it's really, really fun and funny. And the reason I think it's definitely got a horror sensibility because eventually these characters involved in this robbery cross paths with witches. And the one thing I really liked about it is there's not, and maybe you guys out there will correct me. I don't know a lot of movies about witches that I really dig. Or at least that do something interesting and original with them. And this one had some pretty wild stuff, like witches running on the fucking ceiling and
wait. Go back to our Christmas episode, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 4. Brian Yesna's excellent portrayal of a coven.
I'm pretty sure I fell asleep in most of that. Yeah.
No,
this was exciting.
I haven't seen a good witch film in a long time. I mean, Lords of Salem definitely had some moments to it, but I have not seen like a witch film.
But this is like a flat, you know what I mean?
This
is witches.
Yeah.
That's the, where zombie movies have zombies and, vampires have this is fucking witches movie.
Yeah.
Which I thought once that element came into it, I thought it was pretty great. And the girl in it who's the main witch, Eva, is played by Carolina Bang, who is actually married to the director. She's in The Last Circus as well. So she's been in a few of her films, and she's awesome in it. And the lead, Hugo Silva, is really funny. If I had a critique to make about it, is it's interesting because I'm sure he gets comparisons to Del Toro just because they're both Spanish filmmakers with these vibrant imaginations. I feel like
Del Toro's Mexican.
Oh, Mexican, yes.
But still, yeah.
But you know what I
Pan's
mean?
Labyrinth is set in Spain, so...
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's like you look at this guy's films and there's an imagination there.
They're far more wild than
it's
Del Toro's.
A wild idea. I feel like this guy's imagination exceeds his budget because there's stuff in the third act that, like, there's a lot of CG stuff that's pretty ridiculous. But what it is so ridiculous in itself. There's like, I can't believe I'm watching this. This movie's insane, and you'll see when you actually see it. But that one's on Netflix Instant, and if you're just looking for like a fun movie, I definitely recommend that one. Also of note is that title is not even close to what the Spanish title is, because the Spanish title is essentially The Witches of Zaramundi, which is the town they're all in. But yet the American title is Witchin' and Bitchin'. Like
what a weird. That's a weird.
There's
title
no way you
with.
can translate that into Spanish, so I think that's interesting.
What do you think the bitching's about? Are the characters complaining all the time?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, they are.
Because they're Spanish.
They're kind of grumpy characters.
Interesting.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? I got to ask Rebekah, because you love this movie too, right?
I did.
You know what? It gets to a point when the witches are introduced that I'm like, okay, but like for the first half of it, at least the first 45 minutes, I thought I thought maybe he got divorced, which is why I looked up who he's married to, because it's a pretty angry relationship. Like, these guys are really laying into their relationships with their wives and stuff. And I was kind of like, man, maybe this is a little misogynist of a movie.
It's not the first time he's done that in
he
his
just got
films
divorced.
either.
She's throwing stones at glass houses.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask her. So you didn't find
somebody
that
write on your wall?
No,
Didn't
I
Axel
did.
write on your wall saying that film's really misogynist? I feel like
Which
I
one?
saw that.
Witching and Bitching?
Maybe somebody who wrote Axel, if you're listening, you can tell us if it was you. I'm pretty sure I was looking. It was either you or somebody else in the genre who was writing about how much they liked the film, and she made some comment like, I thought it was deeply. I don't know if it's her. Sorry.
You know what? I felt like that direction, at least for the first half. And again, I looked him up. I'm like, did he just get when
he did make Perdita Durango, which is pretty intensely.
That's what I have to say is because I've seen all of his horror films, like all of the major ones that he's done, and they all have male leads, and they're all a lot of them actually are about males going through relationship problems. So that's nothing new. I mean, even in like his most kind of commercial film, The Baby's Room, or even Oxford Murders, both of those, it's guys in relationships.
Oxford Murder, I can't believe he would have made that film. That film looks so strange.
It is. It's this quiet film with this incredibly bleak palette, and Elijah Wood is in it, and Elijah Wood has absolutely no character in it. And the movie is actually really fascinating. It's about a murder that they...
It was a book. It was a big best-selling novel, I remember.
And it's very much like a beautiful mind mixed with a serial killer. And so there's a lot of math involved, and it's really complex, but it's fascinating. And Elijah Wood plays this student who's studying math and is helping the police investigate everybody, but he's also a suspect. And but yeah, it's the one from Iglesias that I'm like, where did this come from? Because it's not like him. The palette's just bleak. There's nothing vivacious. There's nothing weird. It is weird. I take that back. It's weird, and it's the fact that there's nothing there. Like Elijah Wood literally has no character whatsoever. He's just wood. So get it? Yeah.
And we'll apologize for that when you come on, Elijah, in person.
No, I've always wanted to ask him.
I'm sure he listens.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to ask him if that was like the direction that they told him to go. Like, we don't want you to be in any way zany, or not even zany, just personable.
You mean like just passive?
He's just very kind of like, there's no expression. Everything he says is just like, I think that the killer may have done it this way. It's just very kind of flat delivery. And so I've always wanted to ask,
it is hard for actors. Like, you realize, like, it would be so easy. Oh, he was really crap in that movie. But I'm always like, yeah, you know what? Then the director was really crap because he's the one who was watching. No one else was watching the actor.
Not
it's
crap.
like,
that's the thing. It's the most powerful flat delivery you've ever seen.
Weird.
I just don't understand why it's like that.
Yeah.
But the whole movie is like that because the color palette in it, it's like the entire thing is filmed on a very gray day.
I remember it got really, really very bad to mediocre reviews. I remember when it came out being kind of, oh, that looks good. I heard it was a good book. And then the reviews made me go, it just didn't get well received.
I mean, it was a riveting story, but the film was just kind
John Hurt was the professor.
So you do not find Witching and Bitching misogynist?
I do, but I think that all of his films are, and I think that's
just part of him as a filmmaker.
It's kind of part of him as a filmmaker.
Okay,
and Spanish culture is definitely more of a part of Spanish culture.
Especially because the witches, are they going to kick ass through the entire second half of the film? I saw it as a duality.
Yeah.
Like
it starts that way, and then the second half's more about the witches, and not only that, but halfway through the movie, you get introduced to the male lead of The Last Circus shows up as a female. He's
That's
dressed
very
in drags,
Almodovar move.
but they never he's playing a female character, and I thought that was really suspect and weird. I was like,
it never really registered to me because I thought that them, complaining about how horrible women in their lives are was just kind of the setup and foreshadowing for everything that was about.
It's also what married people do. They just complain about each other.
Let me tell you. So.
Alrighty, Witching and Bitching.
Last night I rewatched something I hadn't seen since VHS days, and I always loved it. I remember the ending was absolutely shocking. It's mostly famous for an ending, but I watched the Criterion of The Vanishing, the original Vanishing.
Oh, wow.
Sporloose. And another reason I watched it again is because I never liked the remake, and the remake I've seen more recently.
Which is weird because I only know I've never seen the original.
The remake.
I like the remake.
No, I don't dislike the remake. Jeff Bridges is particularly good in it, but it hasn't. There's something about that first movie that it's very raw. And it's kind of like a really interesting approach to a film. The Criterion looks great, by the way. But it's what I hadn't kind of forgotten was how interesting the killer is. The killer, or whatever he is, has as much equal screen time basically as the people who are the person who's gonna vanish. And it's about a guy who loses, very early in the movie, loses the girl, and she goes into a convenience store and never comes out. And what you have
a rest stop.
Well, in this, it's a convenience store / petrol station.
Okay.
It's probably all of the same in Europe, but
I think I'm confusing the American version.
It could, the American might be slightly different.
And it's the same director, right?
Yeah, he made it a couple years later, which is kind of why you would think maybe it'd be a little better, but it's still good. But no, it's you know what? This character, he's so cold. And compared to Jeff Bridges, who's just such a good actor that he'll turn it into a great character, which almost defeats the purpose of what this movie is, which is this completely flat guy who basically, it's very cold and analytic, where he's just like, well, I once saved a little girl from drowning, so I thought to myself, well, now maybe I could take a life because I saved a life. And it's how he works his way up to that, and he's a kind of a mathematician, and it's all about, you see him just kind of working it through like equations, and it's really freaking creepy, even though he never does anything that is like particularly creepy. And he's, it's classed a sociopath. Like he says, that's what I am. But the way they then relate to each other when the two guys are together for the whole kind of second arc of the film is really interesting, because the other guy's just so obsessed that he will do anything to find out what happened, because he cannot live not knowing what happened to her. So the other guy's just going to take that completely for advantage. He goes, okay, then come with me. If you can't tell anyone about me. He's got a wife and kids, and he seems like a totally normal guy on that level. But it's a really chilling movie. And I don't think there's a lot of films that succeed in that, where it's that thriller, but totally outside of the Hollywood type of thriller, because it's never actually trying to thrill you and make you, oh, what's going to happen next? It just has this kind of flatness and inevitability horror. Like, it's inevitable. What's coming is coming. And it's really good. I would really think, if you haven't seen that film, especially because the ending is just so good and kind of classic, so it doesn't get ruined for you, watch the movie. But I really enjoyed seeing it again. I think it's a really interesting movie.
They changed the ending for the American one?
No,
I've only seen the American.
No, but I think they softened something about it, if I'm right. I believe they changed something. Maybe they were made to. I'd have to see it again, though.
Yeah. I've always wanted to see that.
It was like Sandra Bullock, Kiefer Sutherland, and Jeff Bridges, I believe, in the remake.
Yeah, and I forgot the other girl. Because Sandra Bullock is the one that goes missing. But there's another girl
who kind of helps him. In the original, there isn't really that character. There's a character in like 2 scenes who helps him, and then she's gone. It's a lot flatter. It's it's an art house. It's a foreign, I think it's Switzerland, France, because they go between the two countries. And it's got that kind of uniform flatness that also actually works sometimes, almost like, not quite like Haneke. It's more warmth than Haneke, because it's really emotional. He really cares about this person. It's pretty heartbreaking, I've got to say, and it makes you, it's scary in the way that real serial killer stories are, not the way we film them. Usually when we make those serial killer movies, it seems like making Freddy Krueger. If it's a Ted Bundy film, we always try to make them more powerful, but this is that flatness of, here's a good term, the banality of evil, right? That idea that actually the person who's going to steal your kid is the person you just looked away from for a second because you thought it was fine. And you turn around and your kid's gone. That's scary. I remember meeting John Landis once, and he said that his wife, when he released that Monsters book, and he was talking about like, oh, my wife, she can watch anything, any horror movie, except the ones about real life stuff. And then she just cannot, if there's a real life killer, she just cannot watch it, because it's, why would I want to watch that? That's real. That could happen to me. And I always thought that was an interesting perspective.
And the other female in the American one is Nancy Travis.
That's it.
And
Nancy
it was
Travis.
at a gas station, which is now making me question. I remember a really frightening scene that I saw a long time ago at a rest stop, and it was clearly like a highway rest stop. And I think this kind of,
the original is kind of, it's a mixture. Europe has those weird, it's like a mixture of things, a camping ground. You know how they all camp and go biking in Europe.
Okay, then that is it. Okay.
Crazy Europeans.
I got to see that one.
Flashbacks to it.
I have the remake from Twilight Time, because they put
they did the remake.
They did the American version. But I'd like to double bill. Have you ever seen Insomnia, the original?
Yeah, the Insomnia, the original is I like this. Perfect. It's like one of those Stellan Skarsgård and one of the most perfect roles. And then the American movie.
I didn't like the American one.
No. That's what I'm saying. The original. Okay. No, the foreign one's perfect. And the American's like a movie. They're trying to make it a movie by like bringing out the characters. And it just, even though it's Nolan, it just kind of feels flat and a little.
I liked Robin Williams.
Yeah,
I only saw it once, but
the original, oh my God, Stellan Skarsgård, it's like one of those great character studies, like of a bad cop. I would actually liken it more to Bad Lieutenant, the original, than I would the remake of it.
No.
It's a really good performance.
Okay.
It is a cool movie. I wonder who directed. The funny thing about some of these foreign directors is like, we talk about them with that one great movie, and then you're like, I wonder if they made anything else, because you never really hear from them again.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Becca, anything else?
Yes. So this was my big one that left me kind of confused for days. I watched a ton of stuff, but a lot of it was kind of mental cake. Like I watched Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, comfort
like
movie.
The little comfort foods that,
There's a movie called Mental Cake.
It was like, it's mentally cake for me. Like, this is just sweet. It has...
I want to watch Mental Cake.
It's got some nutritional value, but mostly I just watch it because it makes me smile and it's really fun to watch.
You don't watch horror films to get smarter?
I do sometimes, but it depends. I mean, and then I've got these ones like Big Trouble in Little China, which are these old standbys that, I just feel like watching something fun
sometimes
tonight.
you need something in the background
and
or whatever.
that's what I watched a lot of over the holidays. But I watched Tusk with Dave Parker. And
Dave Parker's in it?
Yeah, he's totally in it.
Way to go, Dave!
Good job.
That's a career.
So have either of you guys seen this?
Not yet.
I need somebody to
I did
discuss
something.
this with.
I didn't see it, but I did something unusual for me when I was at the when I was on holiday, because I was with Selena's brother and he's watching movies, and the trailer came on, and we watched it in its entirety. Had I stopped the trailer at the halfway point, I absolutely would have watched Tusk. The first half of that trailer, like totally my kind of film. I was like, oh, he's like an NPR journalist who makes audio stories, and he goes out to this guy who's been lost at sea. And I'm like, oh, all the buildup was great. And then the second half of the trailer you're watching, and they go, oh, now I see where you had to be stoned to come up with.
First off, he's not an NPR journalist. He's supposed to be like the
podcaster.
Most... Yeah,
it's
he's
podcast, but that's the same thing. NPR
No, it's not NPR. He's supposed to be the most crassest, let me tell you a story about this time I was masturbating.
Oh, weird. They don't show that in the trailer.
I know, because when I saw the trailer too, I was like, oh, look, he does these little slice of life stories. Oh, no.
I thought it was This American Life, that kind of thing.
His whole shtick is that he's supposed to be kind of like Grease Man. Wait, do you know Grease Man? I keep forgetting you're from.
I just assumed he'd be
from
like
I don't
Kevin
know,
Smith.
like some country over there. No.
Australasian.
It's supposed to be, it's much worse than Kevin Smith. It's supposed to be these like raunchy DJs who just talk about this disgusting kind of,
like a shock jock.
A shock jock. Mm-hmm. That's it exactly. And which Grease Man was what we had on the East Coast. He was like our shock jock. But he's supposed to be a shock jock, and so he was supposed to be interviewing this kid who's like the Star Wars kid who's like fighting with a lightsaber in his garage, but he kills himself, and this guy's like really making fun of it and things like that. Like he's just generally a disgusting human being.
So he starts off, you've got an asshole lead character.
Exactly. And you find out from the get-go he's like having sex with all these women when he's on the road because...
Like Kevin Smith?
Yeah.
Just saying. Kevin's wife, watch it.
But I have to say, like, all of this aside, he's a horrible individual, but he is doing these slice of life stories, and that part is actually quite riveting. And then he gets to this old man, and you find out that the old man...
And it's Justin Long, by the way.
Mm-hmm. And he gets to this... so he's supposed to interview the Star Wars kid, but the Star Wars kid kills himself, and it's not the Star Wars kid exactly. He's given like a different title in this, but you can tell what he's supposed to be.
Is that a true story? I've never heard of.
Who knows?
The Star Wars kid?
I don't think he killed himself.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't want to speak on that one. I don't know what happened to him. It was like a video of a kid like...
A real video. You're talking about real life.
It's a real life video that they are obviously kind of ripped from the headlines using in their movie. But then he gets to this old man's house to do this slice of life story. Michael Parks. And then you find out that the old man is a lot off kilter too. Mm-hmm. And then that's where the whole thing kind of shifts. But that's where the movie gets weird for me. So you've had this phenomenal build, and then for about 10 minutes the movie becomes like a straight on horror movie. Like shit gets fucked up and it gets really disturbing, and there's...
It looked Human Centipede
in
the trailer.
It gets very Human Centipede, and it gets very serious and Human Centipede, and it's very torture filmy. And then enters Johnny Depp dressed as a French detective with a beret doing a silly accent with an oversized mustache.
That's what I heard.
And a giant gun.
Isn't that Mordecai coming out soon?
It's pretty much it.
Okay, weird.
It's just this gigantic caricature, and everything he says is hilarious, and he's got twitches and his eyes point in two different directions, and he's pretty much just a giant caricature. He's like a cartoon.
Right. And that's your third act.
And that's with Johnny Depp. Third act is with Johnny Depp.
They didn't even show that in the trailer.
They're trying to keep that a secret.
It completely fucks the tone.
Yeah. So, the tone of the trailer is pure Human Centipede in the second half. They don't show anything else. They go all the way with like, obviously, I'm going to change you, and it's like, oh, okay, I might watch that movie. I wasn't excited as the first half. But.
It is the most bizarre tone I have seen this year. And so, like, I still don't know if I like it or not.
Right.
I think I do, because it left me thinking about it for days afterwards, which I have to say, very few movies do. Most of the time I watch them and I've forgotten them, but 20 minutes later. But
did it make you think because it was good, or because it was just you didn't understand it?
No, I understand the movie. The plot's very clear.
Oh, yeah.
It's just I enjoyed, it felt like two different movies that were strangely meshed together, not always comfortably.
What's the story behind it? He was on his podcast and they're all high. And he said to someone, let's make a film about a guy becoming a walrus or something.
From what I understand, they came up with the idea all on his podcast. Right. But what's interesting about what Bekah's saying, because I haven't seen it yet, I'd like to see it. But I think the part of the problem, and this could be me just, this is just me speculating, but this is part of like 3 movies that he's working on, because his daughter is in the movie
along with Johnny Depp's
daughter, and now his next movie is about to come out, which is about their characters.
It's called like Yoga something.
Yoga something, and it's all, but it's
they're connected.
What he's doing is kind of building. He's doing 3 movies that all exist within the universe of Tusk, in the same way that all his early movies kind of shared quote unquote universes or whatever. So I wonder if maybe that whole second part is because I've got Johnny Depp. I'm going to use him to the best of my advantage because I have him and his daughter.
Yeah, but he's
or B, maybe he's setting up for this new movie, which I have no idea anything about it. I don't know if it's horror or a comedy or what.
I did see Sinister. When I saw Sinister, I was in a screening room in LA, and you get invited, these screening press rooms or whatever. And I was with Stacey, and there was no one in the room except us. And then in walked Kevin Smith and his girlfriend or wife. And and then the director poked his head in, wasn't going to stay, and said, "Oh, Kevin, I'm so glad you came," kind of thing. And then I heard Kevin talk to her say, "Yeah, I only like horror films now. In fact, I'm only going to ever make horror films now." And I remember this was before even Red. I don't think I'd even seen Red State.
I haven't seen Red State. Have you?
It's actually. I actually think it's really solid.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's pretty well
I
made.
didn't like Red State at all.
I think it's well made.
I've held off all
I don't
this
love
time.
it, but I thought it was well made. Like, it didn't feel like a Kevin Smith movie.
It was another
felt
one
like
where I was like,
weird cult movie.
The third act just kind of like went like,
oh yeah, it just gets too
ridiculous.
Action, but it never gets silly. That's the thing. Its tone is pretty much the same. It does get actiony. Michael Parks is really good in that.
Michael Parks is amazing in it, but I didn't like the plot of that. That was another one where I was like, it's clunky and should have ended 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's not a film that you'd love, but I remember going, oh, it's not terrible like I thought it would be.
Okay.
So Tusk, again, there were parts of it that I absolutely loved. There were parts of it that I thought that were beautifully filmed. There were parts of it that were absolutely
I'm tempted to take the Rob G challenge on this one, which is I'll only watch it if I'm sitting next to Rob and we both watch it. And then we'll talk about it.
All right.
Because I'm curious. I feel like I saw too much in the trailer, but I think I could do it.
I will come watch it again.
Plus, I don't want
to.
There's no point us both paying for it.
That's
it's not worth
that.
Wait a minute.
I have a screener now.
Okay, good. Give us the screener so we can watch it. My next one. Here's the thing. I really, much like, I like waiting on certain films when films are so divided and they have, people love it or hate it or whatever. I like waiting for people to completely forget about it, and then I recheck it out later, and then I completely can enjoy it for what it is. I finally saw Oculus.
Oh, cool.
Which, obviously came out earlier last year. I really dug it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's like, an earth-shattering, genre-changing movie, but what you're looking for in horror is just show me something interesting and different that I haven't seen before. And I thought the whole concept of the mirrors has not been utilized that much in horror. I like the idea of concurrent stories, like, the showing them, and
they're really well done.
Yeah,
those concurrent stories.
I mean, the two versions of them as kids and them as adults. And I love psychological horror, and I loved the idea that these characters, obviously, it's a haunted mirror movie. That's the basics I'll give you. But I didn't know that the characters were sometimes unaware if their actions were real or not. Now you're going
That's
in
the cool thing.
Now you're going in Nightmare on Elm Street territory for me, where you're doing things that you don't know if it's really happening or not. And I found that really fascinating, interesting, and I just thought it was really well executed. I love the lead, Karen
She's
Gillan.
so good.
She's very pretty.
Yeah,
a
good friend of mine from trivia just came that close to having her in his feature, and then she got a huge $100 million movie. And I was like, because I really wanted to see her because she's
good.
on
Ty West's movie.
Oh, the Western?
The Western, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, she really is good. She's
good.
And the little girl version of her is really good. They connect really well.
But I liked it, and then I looked up, and it seems like the other thing that I really respond to is Mike Flanagan, the director of this, made a short version of it almost a decade ago. I haven't seen the short either, but I love that. I love that this filmmaker has had this idea for all this time and is really passionate about it, and he finally got to execute and make a full movie of it.
Clearly it could have been bigger thing. I mean, if it had capitalized on the hype, and if people had gone to this is clearly could have been a franchise type movie. And I think it's a bit of a shame, but I get why it's not while I'm watching it.
Yeah. I like it as a standalone movie.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't think
it's mostly just like the mirror is a good, it's a good connect. But no, the plot's it does totally stand alone. I like it. I think it's, it's one of those really good 8 out of 10 horror films where you're like, oh no, this is like basically nothing wrong with it. A couple things just could have been a little better. I think mostly mythology stuff.
It was one of the few studio films from last year that I absolutely loved, but it wasn't technically a full-out studio. Like
it was
Relativity and that picked it up.
They just picked it up, and WWE did the distribution.
Must have had somebody that doesn't look cheap at all. So I don't know.
Right.
It looked like a $2 million movie or something, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was a little bit more than that.
Okay. But it does, I think one thing it does do, kind of like I think how I felt about Sinister when I started, it's like, oh, this guy knows how to make a film and he's going to make a really good film.
Yeah.
He's going to keep growing.
Yeah, and I'll just shoot through these last few really quickly because they don't require much comment. So, as I've said on the show, I'm loving Constantine the show. I've only seen Constantine the movie once when it came out, and was extremely disappointed because I was a fan of the Hellblazer comic books. So I revisited it now because I'm like, all right, the show's on hiatus. I got a little while to go, and it's so weird because the movie. The story and the characters could be good. I just looked at Keanu and I was like, if this was the dude from the show playing this character, this movie might actually be really good.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one of those movies that's just so miscast on every level. Not just Keanu.
And you already have the prophecy, which is kind of what it's doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's doing this like religious thing, whatever. And Keanu, I mean, here's the thing. British humor is the way that a British person says certain things can come across very funny and charming.
Right.
But when Keanu Reeves is saying it, he just comes off kind of like an asshole.
Yeah, it sounds really snarky.
Exactly. And Constantine is an asshole, but he's kind of a likable one because he's British. So I'm watching the movie, and me and my roommate were watching because he's a big fan as well. And we were thinking, like, I wish the guy from the show is in this movie right now. Can we remake it and just plot him in? But not just that. Then, he's got like a guy, kind of a sidekick named Chaz. In the movie, I totally forgot, it's played by Shia LaBeouf. And I'm just like, wow, that is totally the wrong casting for that character too. And Gavin Rosedale from Bush is in the movie as a quote-unquote
but he's
villain.
Kind of hot.
But he's a terrible actor and a terrible villain. And also, this is 2005. It's got a very ambitious story, and the CG is all kind of awful.
Yeah. That's what I remember is it was like not early
it's 2005
days of CG, but it's definitely, even in 2005, I remember being like, man, this isn't just...
It reminds me of that Arnie film where Arnie's against the devil.
End of Days.
Yeah, similar kind of effects time. That film, the other thing
not quite there yet.
That director's not... every time, he keeps getting big chances to make big movies.
I don't get that. Francis Lawrence, who did I Am Legend, which has the same problem, just terrible CG.
And he also did that Water for Elephants, which they thought was going to be like an Oscar film, and it didn't quite connect. And I feel like it might be a failing there. I don't know.
I liked that movie.
No, I didn't mind it. Actually, I saw it too, and I didn't mind it either. But it didn't connect with general audience Oscar type buzz.
Oh, and then you have people like Tilda Swinton is Gabriel the Angel.
That's right.
She's the Christopher Walken character of the Prophecy.
Yeah, the Prophecy is just so much more fun. I mean, I haven't seen it in years, but when I first saw it, I loved it.
When I was a kid watching The Prophecy, I definitely spent several hours trying to sit like Christopher Walken does, where he's like on his tiptoes with his hands together. Sitting.
Is Eric Stoltz in that?
I don't remember.
I miss Eric Stoltz.
Okay.
If you're listening, Eric, I miss you.
Not the screenwriter, the actor, Eric Stoltz.
Okay, yeah. I feel like I haven't seen Eric Stoltz. I feel like we saw a lot of him in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then it's just
rocking and rolling.
He was in a lot of indie stuff.
Yeah. Definitely was one of the key indie, Killing Zoe and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's just, good actor.
Yeah.
Mask, baby.
We like
Mask.
you, man. Come back.
We love you.
I love Mask. Are you kidding?
Mask's great.
So skip the movie. Just watch the show, please. Right. I want more episodes of the show. Also, another title I got from Scream Factory, Supernova.
Oh, yeah.
Which that sounds so good.
I'd never seen it. I remember, here's the thing.
A lot of directors were credited.
That's the fascinating thing. This came out in 2000. This is a time before the internet where we would know about studio problems. Yet that was the one movie that I knew full well was under a lot of trouble. Because it was originally Walter Hill directed it.
Yep.
Then Jack Shoulder came in and did the reshoots and finished it. And Francis Ford Coppola came in and gave his opinion, not necessarily directing anything, but
I think he was a producer, so
he helped reshape it. Essentially, all the stuff that Jack Shoulder did was because of Francis Ford Coppola's input. But I'd never seen it, and I don't know. It's kind of like I kind of like revisiting like 90s horror, even though it came out in 2000. It's still got the 90s feel to it, and I find those films like that decade is fascinating now in retrospect. It's a mess of a movie. But it's actually a really fun mess. And,
Who's the bad guy in that? One of the actors. I remember...
Peter
from Twilight and all that.
Yeah, that guy. He's the quote-unquote bad guy. Yeah. But James Spader as the lead is kind of a badass. And this is like the pinnacle of James Spader, where you look at him and you're like, wow, he actually is a leading man. Like, he's a good look. Him and Angela Bassett in it are like at the pinnacle of their hotness.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's not a good movie, but I actually had a lot of fun just watching it now.
Do you know anything about why? Because I love all the people we just talked about. I love Walter Hill.
Oh my God!
And we all probably do with the passion. What did he fuck up? Like, what was his? I wonder what his version would have been.
What's funny is William Maloney wrote it. Who he did House on Haunted Hill.
William Malone, the director.
William Malone, yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. He was the. I think it's the same guy, but that's the credit I saw. Here's the funny thing, because one of the things I wanted to mention also is like I love watching behind the scenes featurettes and stuff like that. The one on here is fascinating, but lately I feel like because of the rate these things are coming out, maybe they're not putting whoever's working on the special features, and look, I do these gigs a lot myself too, is not putting the focus on them, because the Supernova one should be riveting from start to finish,
right?
But it's 25 minutes and it's kind of long and repetitive. Like, you could really tighten that little making of documentary into like a 15-minute thing that's just would be amazing.
Do you think that's that they weren't able to talk about the drama that went on?
No, the whole thing is all drama. Like Lou Diamond Phillips saying, oh yeah, we shot with Walter Hill. He did a great job fighting with studio execs. They fired him. Jack Shoulder came in. It's no holds bar.
And do we know why they fired him?
They go into it on the special features, and it's not really, it's one of those things that it started, the company, I forget, there's a producer on board of it who's in the documentary that essentially the reason the movie got greenlit was because it was supposed to be like a really low budget, like $2 million movie or something like that. But this producer had an effects house. So what he was bringing to the table is, we're going to do all these amazing effects for your little movie. But then a studio got involved, and then it's all of a sudden, oh no, we could do it for like $90 million or whatever, some crazy number. And then Walter Hill came on, and as he often does, and I was trying to think of the other movie. I watched another behind the scenes featurette of something he was supposed to direct. And it was a similar thing. Is he read it? Oh, maybe it was Alien. What did he was supposed to do?
You end up doing the big rewrite.
Yeah,
huge rewrite.
That's what it is. He did a huge rewrite on Supernova and did something different with it. And then again, they finished the movie, or they finished shooting it, but they didn't finish. He was factoring in reshoots in terms of specific scenes, and he was pushed to cut it and screen it. But he knew that it's like, but you don't understand. We're missing stuff that we're going to need in reshoots. I can't show this version of the movie. And they did it anyway. And of course, it went over terribly because people's notes came in or whatever. And that's when they were like, oh no, we need to figure out, all this stuff. So he left. Jack Shoulder was the editor on it. And they just bumped him up to director after
he's a good director,
Francis Ford Coppola gave some notes. And, there are some things that are absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's definitely the type of movie that if somebody was willing to do a midnight screening of it, I think it'd kill. Because some of the dialogue, like, there's like the captain is Robert Forster.
Oh, wow.
He's in the early scenes of it, and then James Spader has to step up and take over because of what happens to his character. And he says something along the lines of like, they're objecting to his decision as the captain, and James Spader's like, you know what? It's something along the lines of, you know what? And Christ got crucified. Can't do anything about it. I just got to deal with the card I'm done. It was like, what is this dialogue?
I bet Walter Hill did write that line.
I love James Spader in everything. Like I think he's just phenomenal. Even like his new show Blacklist.
That's his biggest hit so far.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing.
He's amazing in it. But he's like this perpetual asshole that I love. I mean, like even Pretty in Pink on work. Up. He's awesome.
2 words. Jack's back. Jack's Back.
Jack's
Great
Back,
movie.
yeah.
Movie. And Bad Influence is great. We're great.
I'm stoked for whatchamacallit, for the Avengers movie because of him. Because he's Ultron in the new Avengers movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's the villain, if you will.
He's the villain in Wolf, and he's fun in that. I mean, the rest of the movie is kind
good.
of
He's
crazy,
got, So, I mean, that's the thing. It's worth watching because of him and because it is kind of fun and crazy. You know?
I remember. Yeah, there's that period and I mean, Event Horizon's actually a great movie, but it has moments, a couple of characters that are goofier than the rest of the story. And there are a bunch of movies from that time period where they're like space movies.
Yeah.
Jason X is like all these movies have something in common. It's like a way it looks and feels, almost like a goofy version of what space would really. Because none of them seem like scientists. None of them. They all seem like kind of good-looking model action people. You know?
Yeah.
I know it's a weird subgenre.
Because like Virus came out around that same time as well.
I don't know what they were thinking. Like, we should do like a space movie.
They must have been doing okay. Some of these movies must have done well at the box. Yeah,
that's crazy.
I watched them all. I mean, I've seen every single. I haven't seen it since, but I watched Supernova at the theater.
Yeah, there ain't even much sci-fi, like big sci-fi, besides Transformers, which is just
something in that realm. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of
Well, I mean, Guardians, obviously.
Well, and then we had Prometheus.
Yeah,
Prometheus, and Guardians is great, and Prometheus is in its own way is really interesting. I'd be more curious. I don't know. They're continuing that world? Has it been decided?
Supposedly, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and because then there was all that Neil Blomkamp's alien design, which makes you just want to see more alien movies. Let's just cut to the chase. Let's make more alien movies.
Let's just get there.
Yeah.
I don't see why they couldn't do both, because one set in the past, one set in the future. I mean, somebody could do a legit alien sequel at this point.
Sure. You know? Why not?
One more with Sigourney, maybe.
And really quickly, the other thing that just like I was saying before, something that got like railed when it came out as being just awful. And I didn't see it, and I watched it now. Only God Forgives, which I really liked a lot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the what's his name?
Nicholas Winding Refn.
Yeah.
I wish we could see that film though about it, because I've heard it's really interesting.
There's a movie about the making.
So when it screened at Beyond Fest, it screened with his wife, made a feature-length film about him making that film, and basically all the stuff that was crushing him, kind of like that Apocalypse Now documentary, all the things that were crushing him about trying to follow the success of Drive. And he was purposely trying to, I mean, it sounds weird. It seems like he was purposely trying to make a film that no one would like, because he didn't know what to do and didn't know how to follow it up. So at every moment where he could have made it more fun, and he kind of went the opposite. And that decision was crushing him. And there's this whole 2 hour or hour and a half documentary, which maybe they'll put it out on its own. I'm not sure. I didn't get to see it, but
I'd love to see that.
Awesome. And he was there to talk about it. And I was really excited to see it, because I felt lukewarm on that. But
did you see it right after Drive, like when it first came out?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on VOD as soon as it came out, and
I feel like the expectation is
totally. I mean, but I've seen his other movies, and his other movies, to be honest, are much more like Only God Forgives.
Yeah, totally.
Like Drive's the only time he's ever like spiked into anything that's commercial.
Even remotely commercial.
Pusher and all those movies are really obscure.
And even Bronson. I don't love Bronson.
Bronson's popular, but it's still art house.
Yeah.
Pusher. I mean, I don't consider Pusher to be. I mean, it's kind of actiony at the same time.
It's actiony, but it's still. I mean, I'm thinking more Pusher 2 and 3. They're very much more art house and weird. But the Fear X is one I talked about in here before. It's really like Fear X is definitely the closest to the one you're talking about, and they would make a really obscure double feature of just like lots and lots of like tension, but no build, like nothing. It doesn't lead to anything.
But when there was here, and the reason I brought it up on a horror show, because technically it's not really horror, but again, I felt it takes place in Bangkok. It's mostly Asian cast.
Some great villain guy. That guy.
God! But who's the villain?
Yeah, he's not. Well, no, there is a villain. There is a villain. What's her name? The English patient.
Oh yeah.
She's a villain.
The mother for sure. I mean,
that's
that's the weird thing is you have like people like her and Ryan Gosling. They're kind of the bad people. But I found it fascinating. I thought it had that Korean sensibility, like those Vengeance movies. And there was a few scenes of, I mean, the whole thing just kept getting more violent and violent and violent.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. There was one scene in particular where there's the attempted cop hit, which I thought was amazingly executed.
Is that the one that's set in the brothel type singing place, and all the girls close their eyes and the?
No. It's the one where they're like eating. Three cops are eating at like some little outdoor restaurant in Bangkok, and two guys come and like open fire, like murder everybody in the place, and it's just like it's insane. And this whole little chase and all that stuff. But I really liked it a lot. I thought it was interesting and colorful, and I mean the dialogue's ridiculous. It's sparse, but when they do say stuff, you're kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Is this one out on VOD yet?
It's on Netflix Instant. It's been out for quite a while. That's how I watched it. I just saw it. I noticed it on Netflix.
It is not a fast-moving film.
Yeah, so you need to pay attention.
Well, I mean, most
Very
of his
slow.
films aren't very fast.
Yeah, but Drive moves. I mean, Drive moves because it's like a neo-noir and has a lot of,
And the
and
music
Drive
and all
is
that.
definitely one of, movies like Drive,
But, like-
the audience's reactions to those kind of movies and Pulp Fiction, so many movies are what I hate most. The people who, when the Drive comes out in theaters, they're like, this is the best thing ever. And then 6 months later, they're like, I hate Drive because everyone likes it.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
like, because everyone's wearing a scorpion jacket. You have to divorce yourself from all the bullshit and all the hype that comes after a movie. That's not the movie. The movie was your reaction to it in the theater.
exactly.
And that was fantastic. My reaction to watching Drive in the theater is like, this is a great, fun movie. It's like part fairy tale, the love story, Albert Brooks. And then, years later, it gets maligned because everyone wants to suddenly, it's too posery. Ryan Gosling's poser. It's like, no, I hate that about movies. That's my least favorite thing about films that become popular.
See, I love Valhalla Rising. I still consider it a
interesting.
horror film. That's like one of my favorites that he's done. That and Pusher.
I mean, but look at what those two.
Back.
You can't fault either of those guys are being quote unquote like poser, whatever. Because look what they did after Drive. Like they both got this huge success, and they
made
just
these
got
weird,
even
obscure
weirder.
And what's it? Gosling's
Ryan's
made his
movie-
own horror movie that won't get a release. So I want to see that. I'm curious.
Well, that's everything I saw.
I only have two that I want to see that I wanted to mention.
Want to see? What do you mean?
Like ones that I just got copies of that I'm going to see.
What's on the horizon?
Well, Elric and I both had this kind of like, I love the face that you're making right now. I'm talking about you. We both had this weird kind of realization a couple of weeks ago that neither of us had ever seen Cat's Eye.
Yeah, I'm pretty 90% sure I haven't.
Get out
I've
of
looked
here.
for it
With
before.
Drew Barrymore?
Yeah.
The anthology.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
I
God.
don't even know how it came up, but there was just this moment.
Unless it's on TV. I think Dave was rooting around trying to find a VHS copy, and I was like, I've been looking for that.
That was it.
Because ever since we did that anthology episode, there's only about 3 that came up. That Necronomicon was one, and Cat's Eye was one where I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta see if I've seen. That's one of those movies I could totally put it on and be like, oh yeah, I saw this on
me
TV
too.
once.
Like I've never seen it and I can picture the box cover immediately. I'm like, of course I've seen it. And then we were having a discussion on it or something, or Dave was there looking for a copy, and I was like, I'm sure I own it. Wait, why don't I own it?
Yeah.
Have I never seen Cat's Eye? And then it was like one of these moments.
Is that Louis
where,
Teague?
I think
it
so.
was.
Look it
I'm trying
up
to think
while
about the
we're-
only.
I feel like it was Louis Teague as well. I think he did those 2 King ones.
The only thing I remember about it is that's funny because now I'm really thinking about it. I only remember the Drew Barrymore little troll bit with the cat. I don't know if I know if
The other stories.
I don't know if I remember the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Louis Teague.
Louis Teague. Yeah.
But yeah, so I've never seen it, and apparently I did not own a copy. So I ordered a copy. It just came yesterday.
On what? What was it?
I got DVD.
Cool.
And so I'm going to be watching Cat's Eye for the first time soon. And then I'm also psyched because apparently it came out last week and I didn't even notice Rec 4.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so
I
I'm
almost watched it
pretty
last night
psyched
just
to
because
see
to review today, and it's funny because I saw nothing but negative.
Me too.
But
Really
no, but
bumming
here's
me.
the thing: all the people we know who have seen it and said terrible things. So I just thought, oh, it must be a bad movie. I looked it up late last night on Rotten Tomatoes, and all positive. Like all the key reviewers are all saying this is the return to form to the franchise.
Really?
I'm not kidding. Wait till you look it up. I was like gonna rent it, and I thought because I think it was maybe I don't know if it was Jerry, but Freddie in Space and maybe Sam Zimmerman, just a bunch of people that was like, oh, they all don't like this movie. And then I started reading all the Rotten Tomatoes. It was at like 70% or something, and they were all saying, oh no, this is really a great return to form. And
Interesting.
after the flow of third now, so maybe it just depends what you like about the Rec films.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to be thinking. So I definitely, hopefully by next week, I'll watch that too.
And I liked 3 a lot. Even though that was a radically different one. But it's funny because I know what you mean when you're saying, oh, everybody, but like my version of everybody, like those people count, but they're reviewers.
Yeah.
So no offense to them,
Yeah.
but I don't really listen.
Right.
But I have a lot of friends, people that I've met over the conventions over the years, just regular horror fans. They're kind of the ones I'm more in tune with listening to because they have no allegiance to anybody.
Sure,
and then, and all of them have been negative about it too.
Well, look it up on Rotten Tomatoes because it definitely. I was expecting
see
everyone
no
to
matter
say
what.
because usually horror films in general on Rotten Tomatoes are getting bad. This was like most of the ones that I was looking at were saying it was a return to form, but then a lot of them were saying that return to form after 3. So maybe if you like 3, then I'm iffy on
like
3.
3.
I love 1 and 2.
I was okay
I didn't
on
dislike
3,
3,
but yeah, I didn't dislike 3. I didn't think it was bad,
Love the
but
girl.
it wasn't 1 and 2 for me because 1 and 2 I lumped them together.
Yeah,
just
'cause it's
because
like one long movie.
It sustains itself. I would easily put them in my top
I like
10.
1 better than 2 though.
See, I think I don't know.
I like 1
2
better
'cause
than
it's
2.
a bit more supernatural.
2's really good, but it's because it's from military people, kind of like Aliens. It's like 2. You're always a little more indestructible. Like number 1's great because the people are fragile because they're not superheroes of any or trained military people, and also they don't know what they're getting into. Whereas by 2, they kind of know what they're getting into, but it's still really well made. Like it's pretty.
See, but I feel like 2 is a response to Quarantine. Like I don't know if Quarantine never got remade, if it didn't get remade into what it was. Because I felt like they were saying, like, F you, we're going to go completely left turn, try to do this. Because think about it, that's the only movie that goes in that direction, whereas 3 kind of goes back to the format of the first one, although they hint at the supernatural stuff from 2. So it'll be interesting to see how 4 brings it all together.
You know, Quarantine 2, the first time I saw it, I completely despised it just because I'd seen Rec 2 and it wasn't
the one on the
that.
plane.
But after I watched it again, it's actually not that bad of a movie.
Neither of them are that bad. Like, I mean, they're not great. The first ones, if Rec didn't exist, I would be totally fine with Quarantine. Like, if I'd never seen Rec, I could have watched Quarantine and been like, it's okay.
But those guys just ripped off that movie.
I mean, it's terrible. And then the second one is, I agree with you, there's something about, I think the location's good, maybe that's what it is.
It's all in the hangar of a plane, and there's like some pretty good scares in it, too.
See, but that's a zombie movie.
Yeah, it's a straight zombie.
Whereas the Rec thing goes beyond zombies, which is what makes them interesting.
So anyway.
Best found footage. If we ever do an episode on found footage in 3 weeks, we will definitely, we will rank our favorite found footage films because I think Rec is just one of the few.
Okay.
It's a good film. So 2015.
Yeah.
2015.
Anybody want to we thought we dealt, we asked you guys out online what you were most looking forward to this year, which is actually great for me because I have a few things that I'm looking forward to, but it was interesting. There was a ton of titles from some of our fans that I'd never heard of that I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I looked up through that. I really, if you just asked me off the top of my head, I'd probably have come up with like 3 things because I didn't. Besides sequels, and I'll say like on the sequel list, Insidious 3, Paranormal Activity, all these movies that Sinister 2. Obviously, you're either interested in those franchises or you're not. Is Conjuring 2 this year? Maybe. No.
It's not on the slate I saw.
I don't think so.
I will say with Paranormal, usually I wouldn't say that, but I thought Mark One was so kind of interesting that I'm genuinely interested, not excited, because that would be overstating it, but I'm genuinely interested in where they're going to go next with that franchise, just knowing that either it's done or they're reinventing something that's actually kind of interesting, because something happens in the marked ones that doesn't happen in the other films that's way more batshit and way more like sci-fi in a way.
Yeah, okay.
That makes me wonder if they go that direction, I'm kind of interested. And so I will go to that, even though it's almost like everything I'm always railing on is almost represented in paranormal films, and yet somehow I'm interested in seeing them. So yeah, but besides that, I am interested in the non-franchise sequel studio films, like what is going to be coming out. And there's a couple interesting ones that I even watched a trailer before I came for one, which I never do, only because the Lazarus Effect, I was interested. I was like, what is the Lazarus Effect? And you know what it is? I've renamed it for you. It's going to be called, this is my new movie, it's going to be called Reanimator 2 Flatliners.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw it. It was called Flatliners.
And Reanimator 2, though. It's literally Reanimator 2 because it's the guy's like girlfriend or wife. But this is Mark Duplass and Olivia Wilde. But it was glossy enough and kind of like looked fun. But we'll see. Like the problem with all these studio films is they're either going to get it right or they're going to get it wrong. And there's no in between.
Yeah. And I'm a little concerned about going back to It's Blumhouse.
No, I know the studio. I just wondered if it was a director we'd heard of him.
I don't know who did that one.
But it's Relativity as well. It's the same Oculus. So.
Yeah,
I watched that trailer too, and that's what I that it could be fun and it could be interesting, and I like Olivia Wilde, but like it always bums me because I'm like, but Flatliners already exist.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, if you're under 16 right now or under 18,
and that's the studio mentality. I mean, we are at that point now where they're like, hey, I don't care, Rob. I know Rob's not. I know Rob's going to be pissed, but
you're
they're like,
in your 30s. We don't.
And they always single you out. They're like, I don't think Rob's going to like this. Like, fuck Rob. Let's do the despite Rob.
No,
because we have 100 other people to.
And I mean, Reanimator had like an anniversary recently, and I mean, all these films are now like.
But it feels more like Reanimator 2 than 1. There's something about the bring back his life, but but hey, it looked okay, and I would rather see that kind of big budget horror than Ouija kind of stuff, because it doesn't look, at least like it looks like the age it's aiming didn't feel too low. It felt like I could go to that. They're adult characters. I mean, the fact that they're even casting like Mark Duplass, it's a little different. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's
Well, I'm going to go back to Paranormal Activity 5 really quick. What scares me about that is that if you look at the cast, it's almost identical to like it's Katie Featherstone again. It's the exact same.
But did you see Mark ones yet?
I did. I mean, she's
They're
like
starting to
2
tie it back
seconds.
with her. No, but they're trying to, I assume, finish the story.
I hope so.
And I hope so. I think they said they're going to go to 13 before they wrap it.
Oh my god! Well, I'm also scared by the secondary title on this one. It's Paranormal Activity 5,
Dimension.
The Ghost Dimension.
The Ghost Dimension,
And that
yeah.
just immediately
Nice.
It was called The Further, but then apparently there's already a movie in Blumhouse.
Yeah.
called The
That
Further.
utilized it.
So that one's going to be out. We'll see Paranormal Activity in March.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of I'm intrigued.
I mean, obviously, when we talk about sequels, Phantasm.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, part 5, which now having seen the first 4, I'm kind of excited about.
Ravager.
Yeah.
Except the only thing that's like bums me out, it's not Dawn.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
I
Dawn,
mean, it's
but
being
it's-
directed by like a true fan. Like the guy is like a total
Don's
fan.
involved.
I know,
And
I know.
It's interesting because they did a little teaser over the Christmas break of Don and the director, like
Yeah, the little
putting up
Jawa
the-
dudes decorating the tree.
They're decorating
really?
the tree,
That's
and
so
then they
creepy.
showed new footage. And it's interesting because the new footage is miles beyond that original teaser they released all those years ago. So it seems like they're really taking their time with Phantasm, and hopefully it'll
And that's good. I
Sometimes
mean,
it's just fun.
That's the problem
you know?
with being the internet and fans is that we want it now.
Yeah.
When we hear about it, but when you realize it's like, no, you know what? It's better we
You
wait.
need, you need,
And it
you know,
comes
to
out
put
on
some
this
effort
good.
into it.
Yeah.
I don't have much. I mean, like Elric said,
a lot.
obviously Insidious 3, Sinister 2, the sequels. I really want to see Spring.
Yeah, Spring's top of my list, too.
You and I,
We
we're
almost
gonna,
did.
we're going to try to go see it at the
Yeah.
festival, but
Yeah.
obviously things got a little hectic.
Well, I
This
broke
is
down
the-
and moved into a Motel 6.
Yes, you were trapped.
I forgot
Became
that you were
king.
king of the
King of the
Motel
Motel
6 for a couple of days.
I'm surprised how many people picked up on that. I still
I
get messages
know.
going, "Hey, how's the king?" You know.
King of
But
Motel
think about it.
6.
Did actually give me an idea for our show here because it made me realize one of the subgenres we never really discussed, and it's a little harder to pinpoint it, is holiday horror. Not like Christmas, but people when they're on holiday
Like
horror.
road
When it's
trip.
like,
Oh, you mean
road trips
vacation.
or camping,
Vacation
like
horror.
but couple. Often it's usually couples, and I realized there are so many interesting movies with that as the kind of build up, and it actually made me really want to make one. And like not so much being at the motel, but just that idea of you're really not in control when something like that happens. It's like, I mean, our car had this little thing, and the guy's just like, "Yeah, I can't get that part," and you have to write to the play. It could be up to 3 to 4 days, and I'm like,
God.
"What? I'm meant to be here for an hour? Are you kidding me?" So I'm going to have to move into this motel, and so that was a good impetus for that, you know.
What did you do for 3 days?
It ended up only being 2, but I definitely got as much as I could out of that on Twitter.
And people reacted.
I delved in.
Yeah. Spring is the follow-up from the guys that did Resolution, which we talked about quite a bit on the show.
And it's getting great reception.
Yeah.
Because it's apparently also quite romantic and just different.
Yeah,
from what it sounds
I
like.
mean, that's what we're looking for in the drama. You know, we want to be surprised. We've seen so many films. We want to see something different. So there's that one. Cooties. I think that's
I wanna
coming
see
out this
Cooties.
year.
Yeah, Cooties.
Who directed that? I know it's Spectrovision. I know
3
it's
seconds. I wrote it
Winnell
down.
wrote it.
It is Cass. Never mind. I didn't
Is
write
Elijah
down.
Wood in it?
Elijah Wood, yeah, it's
Rainn
Spectrovision.
Wilson.
I'd love to
Yeah,
get
Lee
Spectrovision
Winnell.
guys on here just to discuss what they're doing, but that's one of the ones I'd be interested. A great poster. I remember as the lollipop.
Yeah.
That one, I saw a teaser of at, I think it was AFM, and it was really good.
I think it's a
hoping that
comedy.
The rest
you know.
of it's great, too.
I think it's mostly a comedy.
Yeah,
Another one like sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, since we're talking, it's more of a comedy than anything, but I'm excited for people to see Suburban Gothic,
I
Ricky
wanna see
Bates'
that.
new movie.
Yeah, I'm definitely
follow up to
all on board.
Excision.
One of the ones that remind me of kind of like what you're talking. I mean, because ultimately here, my number one note on this topic is the film I'm most excited about this year are the ones that I don't even know exist, because that has been
Yes.
this last year
Yeah.
really blew my mind with films I hadn't been expecting, hadn't heard of, and then just popped out of a festival circuit. And so even though we have some of these big titles because they've kind of gotten on the radar of websites that say upcoming horror, Crimson Peak, Guillermo del Toro, there's some big stuff. But man, there's going to be those movies that you did not even know existed, and it's going to be the one that, you know, really can. And one of the ones that I think is going to be like that, and just like you said, Spring, is called We Are Still Here.
Yeah.
And it's got Fessenden in it. I think it might be produced by them. It's Ted Geoghegan, I don't know. But it's
Geoghegan.
meant to be. I don't know anything about him. Don't know the guy.
He's a good friend
But
of
I've
Fango.
heard it's a very Fulci vibe, and it's all in the house, and I always get excited about those kind of movies.
Yeah, I think Travis produced it.
Okay.
Travis Stevens.
Yeah, I just the little bit I saw the photos, I was like, oh, cool.
But you mentioned Crimson Peak, which I have to say I'm pretty excited about.
I don't know anything about it. I really don't.
Toro.
I just know it's Guillermo.
I know that it's set in 19th century kind of Victorian times, and that it's like a woman who, it looks almost, I'll say Gothic-y.
Okay.
And it's a woman who discovers that there's something very sinister about her husband. And that's about all I've gotten so far. But
is he the guy from, what was the movie we loved last year? Not that, well, last year, year before, was our number one.
I didn't write down cast.
Park Chan-wook.
So.
Oh, Stoker?
Stoker, is that the guy? The guy who plays the uncle? Oh, okay. I thought it was the same guy.
That would be a little repetitive.
Really? I thought it was the uncle.
It could be.
I feel like I read something.
I will look it up
Matthew Good, whatever his name is.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
That would have been good casting. I mean, he was
What about the
great
new
in Stoker.
Amityville? No, there's 2 Amityville films coming out, right?
No, there's one.
Cal
that was,
Fawn.
Yeah, that's the one I know about, but
Okay.
but it was supposed to come out in January now, and it got delayed indefinitely, which is not a very good sign.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Speaking of not a very good sign, Poltergeist, which I think is coming this year.
Yeah, Poltergeist. I actually have. Oh wait, Amityville.
But that could be a great sign because it means. Oh, we can't even probably talk about anything. But we do know that certain people worked on it that are exciting to think
was
about.
it Amityville: The Awakening that got postponed?
Yes,
indefinitely.
But then there was also. I thought no fair. Okay.
That's the one, the Cal Fawn one.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Jennifer Jason Leigh and Bella Thorne.
There's only one.
Oh, for some reason I thought one was like Diary of the Amityville.
No,
Okay.
Just the one with Jennifer Jason.
I know there's a trailer out for that, and man, I don't know what I'm doing early in this year, breaking my trailer rule.
You watched it?
But I've got it on my phone, like loaded up, because I'm just like curious. They're the kind of ones where I'll watch maybe 30 seconds just to see what you're doing with it, and then decide whether I'll see it or not.
Yeah,
because it's a bigger movie. Like if it's an indie film, I don't want to see anything. But with a movie like that, I'm like, okay, what's the tone?
The guy from Stoker is not in Crimson.
Okay.
I feel like you need a bigger, when it comes to a studio film, especially something like an Amityville sequel, it's like, if you want me to get in the theater, I need to see a little something. I need to know what you're up to.
Because there's already been a lot of those sequels to that franchise.
There's been an Asylum.
And a bad remake.
A
remake that was very average.
Yeah.
With the poor man's A.J. Bowen. You heard me, Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, get out of here.
You know what? Actually, of all the things I saw, weirdly enough, of the big movies, the one that's easily the most exciting, I just saw one photo before I came here, is The Krampus by Dougherty.
Oh, I haven't seen anything.
I saw a big one picture of it, of the creature. I assume it wasn't just like concept art.
Yeah,
and that just sounded cool because he hasn't made a film.
I just like Michael Dougherty as a filmmaker. I can't wait to see it.
That's the guy who did Trick or Treat. And I'm excited to see what he does with that, because when
there's a lot of Krampus stuff out there.
My God, when I was at AFM, I saw like 15 Krampus movies. They're all coming.
But it only takes, you have to just make the best one.
Yeah,
and that's the one everything else gets forgotten, unfortunately, because we know some people made some.
Yeah.
And I also read curious about, pardon me, Poltergeist. The only thing about Poltergeist that does get me genuinely interested is the lead, Sam.
Oh, Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell gets me excited about that because he's like, I want to see him play a dad of a family because he's a really great actor. He's so likable. But I guess I'm very the thing that will decide. I know Ty kind of told us when he was on here is is it meant to just be like the original, or is it a new spin? If it was a new spin, I'd be really excited. But if it's just them remaking this film that already works and doesn't really date, I can watch it anytime I want and enjoy it. I don't need it.
I'm kind of excited about it because Raimi's involved, and
if Raimi directed it, I'd be super excited.
That's not always a good thing. Yeah. Because he's usually on the exec producer or whatever thing, which isn't really much.
I mean, if you look at how they've slated it, they've got it in July, so they're obviously trying to make it like the hot horror film of the summer. So,
which is the new thing since The Conjuring.
Yeah. Right. So they're trying.
So it's already been delayed,
definitely trying to get that Conjuring spot.
It's supposed to come out last November, I think.
By the guy who made Monster House?
Monster House, yeah.
Monster House, I didn't see it.
Yeah. For me, It Follows, because you guys have talked about it, and you're both mixed on it. So I definitely want to. No, I'm saying you liked it. I meant you're both polar opposites. You liked it, she didn't.
I didn't like it, I loved it.
You loved it.
I'm going to go on record and say I loved it.
I didn't like parts of it, but I liked the jump scares.
I was talking to Erin today about it. I just met him before I came to the show, and he was just like, it's the best, pretty much the best film he saw last year. I mean, like most tense and just like.
Erin, who is
not a horror guy.
Listeners know.
Yeah. Erin, who's made a film called The Frontier with A.J. Bowen and Jim Beaver from Supernatural. Okay. That hopefully will be soon.
And I will say,
you can know him as our friend.
Even if you don't like art films and you don't like the fact that it doesn't have a great deal of plot, the jump scares are well worth it. It scared the crap out of me.
Atmosphere.
I'm ready.
Yeah, it's all about the atmosphere.
I'm ready for it.
Okay.
Also, hopefully comes out this year. I want to see Harbinger Down, which is the film that Lance Henriksen came in.
I saw the teaser. It looked great.
I feel like this has got to be the year that it's going to come out.
They did a preview, or I guess it was a test screening of it at Scare LA, and it was mixed. Like,
it was mixed,
the results.
Sure, they showed the whole thing because at Monsterpalooza they showed like a 10-minute long.
They showed the whole thing. It was
really?
it was a private screening. They didn't announce it. It was literally a half an hour beforehand. They started hanging up signs and said it was going to be a beta screening.
Maybe the effects weren't done there because it looks so like it looks like the effects would cost a lot.
My thing with it is it just seems like a new version of the thing, which is kind of seems like the biggest influence. But it's got Lance in it, and it's practical effects, so it's kind of like that's what's winning me over. Is like, sure, you could do that story again as long as you do it really well.
Yeah, and apparently the whole thing was actually done in like a studio setting. So
the teaser I saw looked good. The 10 minutes I watched.
I'm really, we have a lot of friends involved with this, but I still am looking forward to it. I think Tales of Halloween is going to be a lot of fun.
People probably don't know much about it. You should tell them a little.
Well, it's an anthology film that's being that just wrapped production, and it's going to be 10 shorts, right?
Yeah,
10 shorts, 11 directors, all friends of ours and people that kind of
mostly have been on the show. Besides Lucky McKee, I think almost all of them.
Lucky
we
McKee,
haven't had Ryan on yet.
Oh yeah,
Ryan Schifrin, Neil Marshall, Mike Mendez. Next week.
I wasn't going to say it yet.
It's all right. We can give that away. A lot of interesting people. Paul Solid, Neil Marshall, Axel, Carolyn.
We haven't had Neil on yet.
Darren Lynn Bousman. Lucky McKee.
A lot of people that we've had.
Yeah, Mike Mendez. Yeah, so quite a few.
Yeah.
Dave Parker. So actually a lot of the majority of people.
Almost everybody has been on the show. Anyway, they all did, the whole idea is that it's just an anthology, and they all did a story based on Halloween, on the holiday, and they all take place in the same town in the same night. And what little, Rebekah and I have covered it for Fangoria, done set visits. And it just looks fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have enough Halloween movies. Think about it. When Halloween rolls around, you put on John Carpenter's movie, and now Trick or Treat. And this seems like it's going to, at the very least, whether you like it or not, it's going to have that fun vibe of, it's going to be the movie you put on every October. And what I love about it, and I know they've said this, so I don't think it's a harsh thing to say, it's kind of the anti-VHS, meaning none of it is found footage. It's all beautifully shot and actually going for a cinematic look, which, quite frankly, that's what I'm sick and tired of with anthologies, is like, I'm glad they're making them, but nowadays they're making them super cheap, and they're these kind of like found footage,
It's getting quick and dirty, and I'll say it's like outsourcing. We're like, okay, name 5 directors. Cool. See if we send them each $1,000 if they'll make something.
Well, no, because if you say to someone, you get to make a 20-minute movie and we'll give you $5,000. Well, think about that. That only costs you 5, 10, 50, $25,000, and you just funded a feature. It's cheap.
Of course.
The results, and I know ABC's is something about that, but that's to 26 directors. So that's still a bit of money.
Still, they're not getting much for those. So you're funding a film there, I'd still say, for under $100,000. So it's they've become kind of quick and dirty, and I know that has become a trend because I'm now seeing a lot of that happen on the indie scale, where people are like, you know what, we've got $10,000. Can we send you $2,000, and can you send something back that's like 10 minutes, send it back in like a month? And it's becoming this very kind of like an outsourced filmmaking thing. And I love that they did not do that.
This is the opposite of that. What we've seen is actually, it's going to be a cinematic, polished anthology, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think
as long as they can keep it tight, like you don't want it to be over like 100 minutes. I always feel like those kind of things, because of the repetition, like saying ABCs of death, once you've passed like 5 or 6 shorts, it doesn't matter how long they are. If they're too long, you just start to feel repetitive.
Of course.
I feel like if they can keep that running time under 2 hours for sure, but tight, and it'll be great, because all the talent's there,
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
It may have some cameos in it that are amazing. You may see your Killer POV.
I definitely will not be seen. I was like so far back as Santa Claus that there's no way I'll hear that.
I already hear there's a rumor that all 3 of us are in the same shot.
You should hold a baby. It gets you better.
I wonder if I was standing behind you.
Becca's definitely in it, and so is Marnie.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Any other films?
Because there's one.
Actually, I've got a couple.
What else you got?
I've got Final Girls, which is coming out from Sony.
What's the story with this movie?
I don't know.
So it's, I can never say her name. Tassa Farmiga.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I like her.
I like her too.
She plays a woman who is kind of dealing with the loss of her mother, who was a famous scream queen. And somehow she gets kind of, and this is going to make it sound really campy, which it may be, I haven't seen it yet. She time travels back into her mother's old movies.
Holy.
Sold.
Somehow she gets zapped back into her mother's old movie and has to team up with these people to fight off the monsters.
This is like
That's already better than what I was expecting. I was expecting it to just be somebody's killing all the Scream Queens.
Oh, no. Like she travels back to 1988.
That's the Charlie Band series.
Yeah, I know.
No, she goes back to 1988 and actually gets kind of like stuck. So it's like the Stay Tuned of horror films. She gets like stuck in her mom's old film and has to deal with it. So I'm kind of intrigued on that one just because it is playing with the final girl thing, and it is obviously female heavy, and I'm assuming it's got a lot of like mother-daughter overtones, which you don't see in horror films unless it's Carrie. So I'm kind of excited to see, you know, what they do with it. It sounds like it's going to end up being kind of comedic just because of the plot. Anytime you have time traveling, it kind of has to be.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as long as it's clever and fun, you know?
It sounds clever, that's what I'll say. And that one's being put out by Sony.
Okay.
So it's going to be a studio
Retitled
film.
The Final Girl Effect.
So Vatican Tapes is a found footage film.
Is that finally coming out?
It is Lionsgate in May.
I've just had too much exorcism.
I'm done.
Too much priest. I think I'm done with priest. I don't even think it's found footage for me now. I think it's about priests. I think it's this. I think we've just seen it all.
Yeah. I will say I'm excited about that one just because Joe Bashara did the music.
Oh,
so that's kind of cool.
I actually heard good things about that one. It's not even if it's good or bad. It's more like, you know.
Just sick of it.
Yeah, especially the last one this year. What was it? Deliver Us from Evil. When I was watching that guy's hair, that priest's hair was just too pretty. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see any of the screen.
I kept telling
All I could see his beautiful curly hair.
I was like, the priest is beautiful, but he really can't act. And Elric was like,
he's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
Not in that movie. He is a great actor. Like he's doing all
in that movie.
Big
it's
foreign
just
stuff.
Rough, man.
There's one I don't know much about. It's called Stephanie. And it's written by a guy who I went to film school with. But it's Akiva Goldsman, who's a major Hollywood screenwriter, Beautiful Mind, which was interesting to me. A screenwriter bought it. It was on the top of the blood list, I think, a couple years ago. And he bought it and is making it this year. And it sounds really creepy and kind of weird. But Ben Collins, who is a listener of a show too, and I went to film school with him, he, it seems like really exciting. He had that, and then Luc Besson bought his other project and is making that. So he just suddenly is getting these two films made. But this one, I don't know, something about, I read just a little bit about it, and it made me go, okay, curious. And it wasn't just because it was a friend. It was mostly, I will say I read one of his scripts where I thought the dialogue, an early one that I don't think is being made right now, where the dialogue was some of the best I've read, where it felt like really alive and made me go, okay, this is exciting for them, you know? So it'll be very interesting to see what this guy does with it. Stephanie, put that in your mind.
31 is coming up this year too.
I have that as one of my top. I gotta
one?
say, I didn't like all the fan stuff about fan thing, but when I start seeing pictures and I start going, you know what? I'm kind of excited. I kind of want to see it.
I'm intrigued. I'll say that. I'm not excited yet because I like Rob Zombie when he's kind of weird and off kilter and kind of flexing that. I have a major cinema muscle, but when he does the, I don't know. I like Devil's Rejects. I didn't like House of a Thousand Corpses.
So House of a Thousand Corpses, I didn't like either, but it's a first film.
It's a first
Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
Devil's Rejects is great.
I got to give Lords of Salem another chance. I feel like I'll appreciate it.
When you were talking about Supernova, that is how I watch. Or no, you're talking about the Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
That's how I saw Salem.
Yeah.
And I watched it when all the thing had died down. I really expected to think it was crap. And I really thought it was cool. Yeah. Like it was really fun.
It was a surprisingly fun film.
Beautiful looking. But Devil's Rejects is the only one that's like actually a great film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I think in the horror genre, it sticks up. It's something different, and it's
31. I'm intrigued by this one first and foremost because it's crowdfunded, and I think that
how much did they get?
It's all secret.
Yeah, I don't know.
You couldn't see the numbers. Very convenient.
And the plot that they've given for 31, it sounds like Running Man with clowns. So
it's pretty cool.
So some guys having to play video games or they're going to die or something.
Yeah, that's it. I think that you're kind of put into this like maze scenario and you have to fight your way out of it, but there's clowns. And that's kind of all they've released on it. But that's enough to make me say, you know what? It was crowdfunded. I'm intrigued to see what you're doing with it.
All right.
So,
those kind of movies, like the press side of it, you kind of hate and you go, oh, what an asshole. And then once that passes, you're like, yeah, but let's see what the movie is.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Definitely see it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see.
I'm sure it will star Sherry Moon Zombie.
But there's bound to be something that it just isn't on our list where we're like, oh, that's, and it'll pop up on somebody's. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there any interesting one came from people who wrote to us.
Some of them, but I put them here.
What else?
So I've got Victor Frankenstein, which sounds really intriguing. This one, it's Daniel Radcliffe. And
As Igor.
He's playing Igor, and it's the story of Frankenstein told from the perspective of Igor. And this one's due out in October. And so I'm kind of intrigued by that just because I like the idea of telling it from
And it's called I, Monster Assistant. I'm going to rename all the movies today. That's my gig.
Scouts versus Zombies. I can't say I'm excited about this one because I'm kind of zombied out, but it's a major film coming out from Paramount. And I think it's Halloween release date, October 30th.
I kind of hate the verses. As soon as I see verses now, I'm kind of like pissed off and no one's seeing. And yet it could be really cool.
Because
like Cockneys versus Zombies was fun.
Yeah, it was. And this is supposed to be about like 3 Boy Scouts fighting their way through a world of
Which
zombies.
is fun. Like that could be really cute.
Yeah, it sounds adorable.
The thing about the title that, I just call it Scouts or something,
Yeah. So that one's due out in October. It kind of piqued my interest. And then the big one that is either going to be my favorite thing ever or is going to make me weep in anguish.
I know what this is.
Oh, I don't.
The Goosebumps movie.
Yeah, I knew. And I forgot that's coming out this year.
It is due out in August.
What's the target for that age range? Do you know? Is it still going to be young adult?
I don't know. I just know that it is...
Are there stars in it? Is it a big movie? Or
it's supposed to be an adventure horror comedy is how it's described. Cast is Jack Black.
Yeah.
It's Columbia, Village Roadshow, Sony. Soon as it's going to be a huge film. But it's described as an adventure horror comedy, which makes me think it's going to be it's going to be more making fun of Goosebumps or more kind of comedic instead of the actual scares that like really took me aback when I was a kid. So again, I'm either going to be completely blown over by it and think it's the greatest thing of the year. Oh my God, that paid homage to my favorite thing, or I will come in and just be completely depressed by it. So we'll see how
Probably
it goes.
The latter.
I'm assuming so.
I've seen a bunch of pictures from it right now. It looks kind of cool.
It does. It's got the clown and...
It's got a weird ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah, that's some of the best ones.
Stuff.
So.
I mean, maybe having had such a bad studio year this year, maybe it's great because people like us who now our expectations are zero.
They are.
I have none. I'm not going to expect anything. Only one, maybe Insidious 3, for some reason, I have this expectation it's going to be really fun.
Well, Goosebumps is also slated for August, so it's obviously trying to be the horror film.
April, I think.
Oh, why do I must have written down August instead. Because I was thinking it was going to be like the horror film
Bekah, get with it. Bekah, come on.
Oh my God, shut your face.
You should put it out around Halloween.
Jesus.
Goosebumps,
I'm
your
looking
favorite
it
thing in the
up
world.
right now. I'm looking it up. And hold on, did I have anything else that was like amazing? No, I think that was about it for my year. So, I'm hoping the indie markets deliver a lot.
What do you guys want from horror?
Well, before that, right before we want, I just want to throw out there TV.
Oh.
I'm still excited for Bates Motel. I know people were mixed on the second season, but they released a teaser for the third season that was an homage. It's a girl getting in the shower in the first motel room. And Norman Bates putting the painting over. So it was this great homage to the shower scene.
Yeah, opening.
I'm excited for that. But more importantly, Hannibal.
And even more importantly, a guy we know driving up to Canada to make
Neil Marshall is directing Hannibal now as we speak.
That made me really... I did not know that till last night.
Really?
I didn't know why he's driving to Canada. I saw his post going, I'm driving to Canada. It's like, wonder why. And then I read somewhere that said he was doing an episode of Hannibal.
We'll see if we could get anything out of him when he returns.
And I'm not crazy. Goosebumps, at least some sites are listing it as August 7th, 2015.
Oh, okay.
So in your face, Elric. Although it may be April.
I looked it up on IMDb, and in IMDb it said that. But whatever, maybe they're both, whatever.
They could both be wrong.
But no, so after the way Hannibal season 2 played out, it's kind of like they just have free reign to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, it's hard. It really is hard to know what it will be a chase. No, also yesterday they announced who was going to play Francis Dollhide,
which means there's some Red Dragon stuff happening.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to go the Hannibal book route,
right?
Because it seems like they're skipping right to some of the stuff from that novel. So
I just wish they would. I really want them to just do whatever they want and not stick it all.
Well, they're almost
to what I've seen.
They're at that point
because the last season did feel like they were just doing their own thing, and I really want that to continue because that's exciting, and you don't know where it's going to go. Somebody did say Francis Dollhide was only signed up for 4 episodes, the actor playing it, so maybe they aren't going to do a whole thing.
Who knows?
Either way, it's such a cool show. Something to look forward to.
Well, what do you want to see in horror?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if I have an answer to that besides something different, but or what do you expect to see? I mean, I guess big sequels are going to come back this year. Conjuring, we're going back to things that worked. This year seemed to be more like some really interesting indie things sprouted up. I don't know if there's like real patterns. It seemed like found footage was finally maybe really actually running out of steam, and it felt like Supernatural
I think that's finally starting as well.
Yeah, it's
Unless
starting,
you're
but we'll
gonna
probably
be
wait for a while.
Annabelle or in the Conjuring franchise. Like those, it seems like Insidious and Conjuring are like surefire things. But any of these other like supernatural type movies that have tried have not succeeded. So
hard to predict. Like it's hard to go, oh, what's suddenly going to catch people's attention? Because it often depends on just one movie that comes out.
You know, for me, I just love, again, we had a very unpredictable 2014. I'd love it if I get, like when I saw Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, like I was just blown away from start to finish that somebody did something clever. It was clever, funny, and yet elevated and did something in the horror genre. I felt similar to Housebound, not a perfect movie, but I just love the experience of watching it. I love.
And talk about movies, I hadn't heard of Housebound, I hadn't heard of Babadook before that year started. I hadn't even heard those words. And then when I saw Babadook, it didn't mean anything, the word. And now it means something.
Yeah.
I'm going to interject here really quick, Rob. We're both right. And this is actually interesting. Most of the time we hear about films getting pushed back. Goosebumps was originally slated for a release in early 2016, April 2016.
Oh, okay.
It's now been moved to August 2015.
All right.
Which is weird because they usually will bump films back. Rarely. I mean, Conjuring, they bumped ahead.
Yeah, if it's done and the studio is confident, they want to get it out as soon as possible, which is what happened with the Conjuring. Also, did you see Ryan's post about The Purge 3?
No, what was the deal on that?
It's release date. It's coming this year.
It's coming.
It doesn't surprise me.
Insane to me.
But their whole model's once a year, right? Paranormal once a year,
we might have had a third Your Next movie by now had they not sat on that movie for so long.
And I would have been more interested. I would have liked to have seen what a Your Next 2 would have been with her.
Yeah.
It would have been so cool if it was just like Die Hard, where it's just her and she goes to some other house. It's like, oh, God damn it.
Same girl twice.
You know what would be cool? Here's my pitch for Your Next. She goes back to Australia to the family where she grew up learning all things, and then something happens to them. That would be cool.
Oh, it gets all Wolf Creeky.
Yeah, the guy from Wolf Creek comes. That's her dad. That's her dad. Oh, come on, Sheila. You're mad, you bastard.
So it becomes like Taken, but it's, she's next.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. We got the Wolf Creek.
I feel like she didn't get the roles after that she was being groomed for and deserved.
Yeah.
She's really good. I mean, I haven't seen Patrick, but I'm kind of bummed by that because I think that role was really strong and she was really fun in it. And
oh, God. She's doing something. I got to look it up. She did a movie with, I thought, like Adrian Brody and John Cusack and Jackie Chan, maybe?
That sounds like a John Cusack current.
I just thought, like, oh, what the hell
slide.
Is this?
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're looking for, Bekah?
I've gotten sick of so many of the subgenres that we've been seeing for the past couple of years. And even the supernatural, which is like one of my favorite subgenres. I mean, that got beaten like a dead horse last year. Hold on. They're looking
it's called
at a cell phone.
Dragon Blade.
But its actual title is She.
Dragon Blade?
Dragon Blade starring John Cusack, Jackie Chan, Adrian Brody, and Sharni Vincent.
It kind of sounds amusing, guys.
Amusing.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Lost Roman soldiers navigate their way through China. That sounds kind of serious.
Yeah.
No, but I think that the biggest thing, was something that Jeff Lieberman said last week where he said, when you're getting ready to make a horror film, make a list of the 5 things that you're seeing the most of right now and then do none of those.
Yeah.
It was actually really
great advice.
Yeah. Well, just about trying to, and it's really true of his career, for better or worse. It might have hurt his career.
Yeah.
But all his films are something different. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they don't fit in. And it's so nice to see movies like that now.
But if I look at the films from last year that I know will stick with me, Babadook, Housebound, the ones like that, it's because they're like nothing else that was coming out.
Yeah.
Right.
And, the other ones I will ultimately forget, or it'll just become like a passing, like, oh, yeah, that was a good movie. But it's not going to stick with me as like, that was a great film. Mm-hmm. Something that's going to influence me later or make me take pause and say, why couldn't you be more like Babadook later? But
it's so hard to know what like the next major trend, the shift would be. Like, I guess.
How about this? How about any filmmakers that you can't wait to see what they're next? Because I just thought Cronenberg, and obviously it's not really a horror movie. What's it called?
Map to the Stars.
Should be out this year.
The person I talked to, I was just talking about Oren, and he said it was like almost the best film of the year.
Yeah, Chris.
He said it was really underrated.
And that's the thing. I love David Cronenberg. Yeah. I'm excited to see what he does
next.
Apparently
it's brutal against LA.
Yeah.
I
only thought of that because of John Cusack.
Yeah, and Julianne Moore is apparently really good. Yeah. But that's a movie that played for like a qualifying week at one theater in LA.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the plan there was, but it's a bummer because it's Cronenberg.
Qualifying week.
Well, they do this qualifying, so they can say their Oscars, but it's just
even for bizarre. IMDb, in order to get the logo as a theatrical movie as opposed to a direct-to-video movie, you have to four-wall a theater. And so there are set theaters that people know, okay, well, we buy this theater for one night just to say that we did a theatrical. And it's kind of, it's weird the way that I
can honestly
works.
say that in terms of directors, like Kieran Foy is probably of all the directors, one of the ones I'm most interested to see what he does next. Knowing he's doing Sinister 2, I mean, what he's going to do with that.
Yeah.
Because I thought the potential is really high, but sometimes it doesn't pay off when you make a sequel,
I've gotten intrigued by the WWE.
It is weird.
So far, it's completely let me down. I mean, I love the Soskas to death on a personal level, but See No Evil 2, and I know that WWE was a little, combative through parts of it. But I mean, WWE, they have so much money backing them. They want so much to get into the horror game, but they keep kind of, you have to put one of our wrestlers into your movie. And this has kind of been their thing so far, is they want this synergy to happen. And I know that they just signed a contract with our friends from Starry Eyes. Just signed a contract with them. So I am, I'm interested to see what WWE saw in Starry Eyes that said, we can sell that. I want to know what these guys can do. And so, I mean, WWE, I know that they've been talking to a lot of my friends who are indie filmmakers. So they're obviously kind of looking for these up and coming people like they did with the Soskas or like they're doing with our Starry Eyes guys.
They have some interest in my George the Animal Steel biopic that I'm working on. Release date 2017. Okay.
My diehard.
I love George the Animal Steel. From Ed Wood, no less.
But so I'm not expecting great things from them. I will expect great things from the Starry Eyes guys just because I think that they are truly talented. But I'm really intrigued on.
But can anyone make a great movie with a wrestler?
What did WWE have to do with Oculus? Because
all they were straight distribution.
Okay.
All they did was they came in at the end and said, "We'll give money towards P&A budgets. We're straight distribution."
Okay, because that did not have a wrestler in it.
No, it did not. But all they did was just put money in at the end.
That is one of those movies that I kind of did think it could have used a wrestler. Like when it ended, it's like I liked all the mirror stuff, but
only a wrestler played the dad, baby.
Have George the Animal Steel or the Iron Sheik? The Iron Sheik, come on.
Come in right now. Yeah. There is a biopic.
A documentary about him.
That looks so sad.
I heard it was really interesting.
Yeah, I met him a couple of years ago.
I mean, that's my problem with wrestling is there's that golden period, when we were kids. I'm completely obsessed with that period and had all the toys. But ever since then, and since the day kind of I knew it was totally fake, not like somewhat fake, but totally, then I just lost, all interest in modern.
I definitely...
but I did love that period.
It was because of the people I lived with at the time when I was in college. One of the guys we lived in like these, I'd call them quads, but there were 6 of us in these like spokes in the dorm. It was a co-ed dorm, and there were like 6 spokes around the central living room. And some of the guys who were in the spoked thing with me that were in other rooms were really into wrestling. And so I would always walk through the common and see them watching wrestling. And so this was in the 90s, like D-Generation X. And
so that's already past my time.
So I paid attention to that whole thing because that was like the rise of Stone Cold. That's when The Rock got huge. So if it's from that time period, I'm totally there. I can tell you every Undertaker story.
I'm total $1 million man time period. I want a tweet from anyone listening to the show still. If you remember one of the most supernatural moments in the history of television, which is the moment where One Man Gang did a voodoo ceremony. His character name was One Man Gang. They did a poof, and suddenly he was wearing all African clothes, and this is like a big fat white guy, and suddenly he was called Hakeem the Dream. And I believe it was Hakeem the Dream. I know that's a bad. Either way, it was one of the weirdest things. If you are listening, I want a tweet from you to explain that I was not alone.
Well, there is
hashtag I'm not alone.
There is a wrestling show on Geek Nation, which is directed by one of our good friends, Graham Denham. And
I don't want to hear from him. That's too easy.
I bet he could tell you about it. So
he's a child. He wouldn't have even been alive.
But yeah, so I am intrigued by the WWE, not because they have shown me such wonderful sights thus far, but I'm really curious about what their end game is because they seem to be kind of, following the horror scene enough to know what the hot filmmakers are and where they should put money. But I have no idea what they're trying to do with it because if it's promote their wrestlers through horror films, they've already got 2 strikes against them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what they're aiming for because synergy in that regard, it's not going to work because horror fans are not going to always buy this built guy as your killer. It's kind of weird.
I have no interest in even seeing these ones.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see where it's headed.
Well, that's we'll see.
Ultimately, we don't know. We don't know what we're looking for. I mean, the one thing that comes up time and time again is I'd be curious to see what a new version of the slasher film would be. Like what a reinvention that. But then you try to think of it and you're like, it's going to take some great little movie.
That's why I think that it has to be something like Final Girls, because we all know the slasher formula at this point, to the point where it is almost comedic to us. And so, I mean,
it's hard to know.
We can't even have another Scream because we've already made it so self-aware.
What Town That Dread Sundown kind of tried, I think. It did a little bit of Scream and a little bit of a real slasher movie.
I haven't seen that. I got to see it.
I think you'll probably like it.
I'll probably like it.
Probably like it. Like, it has some good, really good
Scream TV series is going to come in this year, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Which will be intriguing how they try to pull that off.
Yeah. And that film my friend wrote that Wes Craven's getting back into the game with to produce, it's a really good script. I mean, if they nail the slasher girl in the photograph, I'm not just saying it's because I know there's a guy. It's like, I want to see that movie. Because it reminds me of Wes's early movies. Those early brutal, like, oh my God. So we'll see. It's hopefully they all get made,
Yeah.
But lots. It's like any year, there's going to be a lot of good stuff. You just have to dig for it.
Yeah.
Digging the Marrow is one that a lot of people.
Yeah.
We got a lot of responses about that one.
Yeah. Definitely curious about that too. Okay, so if you are in Los Angeles,
yes,
the three of us are hosting Dead Right Horror Trivia next Thursday. January 22nd at the Jump Cut Cafe, a little place that you should visit because Elric's never there. But he'll be there that night. It should be fun. We got a lot of prizing from Scream Factory, from Mezco, Waxworks Records just sent me some stuff.
I got a present.
Hustler's giving me some horror porn.
Yep. Yeah, Hustler's giving us some porn. And we got stuff from Rotten Cotton. I got some really sweet T-shirts.
So if you are participating, all you have to do to prepare is listen to all 87 episodes previous to this for hints.
Yep.
To what we're going to ask.
It may be tainted. It may be tilted towards things that we discuss.
A little.
Maybe. You'll see. So there's that. Is there anything else we need to promote or pimp at the moment?
No. We got a lot of really cool guests coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're really excited. We're trying. We have listened to your feedback, and we're trying to break things up and get different types of guests every week, and different types of topics that we can discuss. Next week is an old friend of mine, Paul Solet, who his film.
I've always given him a much more formal name and called him Paul Soleil.
I know. I was so depressed when they were doing like behind the scenes video on Tales of Halloween, and the rep asked me, "Oh, do you want to do a quick little interview saying you're from Fangoria or whatever?" And like, we have Paul Soleil coming soon, and I was like, "Who's that?" And they're like, and I told them after, and it just didn't work out. I wanted to do it live where they were like, "We're here with Paul Soleil." And I was like, "No, Paul Solet." And then I got nervous. I was like, "Wait a minute. I've known him all these years. Maybe he's being polite and not telling me how to really say his name." And they're like, he's like, no, it's Solet. So Paul Solet, his movie Dark Summer is on VOD right now. So you can check that out.
I always wonder what that means now, VOD, because I think I looked on Dish and I couldn't find it. So maybe it's iTunes and that. And obviously, we're going to all want to see it before next week. But
is all of them. I mean, like Vudu, Roku. I mean, VOD, it's just video on demand.
It's frustrating though when you have one and you want to see it and it's not on your stupid. Because I don't have the cool Roku or anything.
See, my
what
TV,
the kids are calling the Roku.
I absolutely love my TV, but it doesn't have an app because my TV has apps for iTunes, so I can't watch iTunes movies on my television. Instead, I have Vudu, Amazon.
Same here.
Yeah.
And iTunes you would need the Apple TV.
I guess the Apple, whatever it is. But that's his newest movie, Dark Summer, and
why do we not know
Grace.
more about this movie?
Yeah,
it's the only question I'd ask because like I told you, I think Grace is just impeccably directed.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a great little movie, and he's one of those directors I don't know him, have no personal stake, so I was always like, I'm excited about next week's show because of that. But I feel like we should have been hearing more about this film right now. I don't know if it's because it's early in the year or if it's just because of VOD. Maybe you go quiet to VOD and then
we'll have to ask him.
Was it marketed over the holidays?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. All I know is that it's one of the few properties that he directed it. He didn't write it.
Which company's distributing it?
I don't know. I should have done better
research.
research.
She was only on as a guest.
If only he was on.
Yeah.
Exactly 1 week from today.
We'll be re-researching
we'll ask him all this stuff.
I bet he's wearing a hat.
But if you liked Grace, check out Grace. And Dark Summer's out now, so check that out as well. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks soon.